Going live. I know what the explanation is, but I'll save it for just a minute. Yo, are we live?
Yeah. We are currently analyzing this photo of Tim Ballard.
Analyzing.
We're analyzing.
You're analyzing the picture.
Analyzing. I am a, what is it? An analysis and a therapist all in one. An analrapist, as Tobias calls it.
Not a lot of people have probably seen it yet and realize that it's out there. It was just released today. I will pop it on the screen here. Present Baldur's Gate. Troy's playing Baldur's Gate. Isn't that breaking the rules, man? Isn't that the other team?
Yeah, that's your enemies, right?
Who's playing Baldur's Gate?
Troy.
Oh.
I've heard it's good. Isn't that only on PC or something?
Yes.
Seems like it. I don't know. Not a few people say it's really good.
Yeah, I've heard it's good.
So this is Tim Ballard.
Going to the analysis of this specimen here. We're talking about the thigh meat and how the pillow under the thighs really accentuates it. Likely shoves his hips up to make the package more impressive.
Well, I'm going to give some ex-Mormon level review of it and say, I can tell by the way this is framed that the church did a number on him when he was 13, 14 years old. Like something about the church and the apostles made him think that color of underwear is correct. And the church made him take the picture from way above while it looks like he's asleep. I don't know.
It doesn't even look like he took it.
So he didn't. Well, he claims he didn't. He says he's asleep there. And the picture was taken by the tattoo artist to remember where to do the tattoos again.
Well,
is what he claims.
I mean, he might be right because it's not a very flattering, lumpy face right there. So what is it? Does that say sober every time I see it?
No,
wait, it says
you know
sober.
what that word is? That word is joder. Do you want to know what joder means?
Joder.
Yeah.
That's to fuck.
Yep, that's what that means. That is what is written across his junk right there. Yeah.
Joder, yeah. No, it's the cognate.
J. Yeah, joder. Yeah. Is that what it is in Portuguese?
Forge, yeah. Vai se forge. Go get fucked.
That is a weird ass tattoo. I don't know why on earth some white guy would put on that tattoo. But maybe that, I mean, I could see how that would be useful to come across as giving a reason why you speak Spanish, maybe making it look like you're some legit.
Did you try to prove it to the guy? He's like, hey, do you got some young girls? Look.
I guess.
I fuck.
Delin
was fuck.
Delin
was
also
asking, it's written in that it's written in Nazi font. It's that old German kind. It's not Gothic. I don't know what that's called, but you know what I mean. But it's like, yeah, it's the kind of strange.
Delin was going off for a while, being like, well, how on earth would that work or help, or what situation would you need? So he described it on. This just got released today, and most of his first time coming back to speak about it's on this Adam Carolla episode here, which Delin already showed some clips from. Delin goes, who's this Adam Carolla? I've never heard of Adam Carolla. I don't like this guy very much.
I don't like this. I bet you'd like his bitch ass partner from years ago.
Oh, yeah, Jimmy Kimmel. How do you not know? How do you be John Delin's age and not know who Adam Carolla is? So this is the episode.
I can believe that John Delin.
No, I think he's like
so disconnected from.
See, I didn't know him from the Man Show really because I wasn't really old enough to watch it. So I feel like you guys are like right in between me and John Delin, so he's a little after John Delin and
no, because he was huge with Loveline first.
Yeah, that's where he really made his name, was Loveline.
And that was going all the way back to the 90s. And that's kind of like almost like being as big as like Howard Stern in a way, because it was just like nationally syndicated radio show that like almost everybody listened to at night. Then that got put on MTV for a long time. And then after that, it went on to the Comedy Central, the Man Show, which projected Jimmy Kimmel's career into significance. But there's also a third major motion for Adam Carolla that at the start of podcasting, there was 3 podcasts. It was Mark Maron, Joe Rogan, and Adam Carolla. And when podcasts, I mean, DeLynn, who's claiming to start in podcasting at the time, who watches how popular his show is back when iTunes was the only metric, he had to have known who Adam Carolla was. Adam Carolla was one of the top 1 or 2 or 3 podcasts.
That's a good point.
In my memory, like, I mean, by far the first podcast that I was aware of that it was like as of somebody's like, I'm somebody who already has a name and I'm going to completely forego traditional media and do this myself. Adam was that guy, and he talked about it openly. Like when he started his podcast, he talked about it's like he had just finished a contract with a radio station in California, and they offered him a new contract that he didn't think was worthy, and he just said, I can make more money on my own. And so to his credit, he did it. Like he did it in that Adam Carolla way, where he just he built his own studio, he made all of his own investments, hired all his own people, and as far as I'm he's like the guy who launched it as a business.
And then you remember the whole situation with the patent farms.
Oh yeah, and he fought them. Yeah, he was one of the main people.
He was the main one. So some patent lawyers tried to stop all patent trolls, tried to stop all podcasting on iTunes, so that all iTunes people, just a simple fact of using a list, they called using a list on MP3s a patent, and they tried to shake down anybody who made any money out of that for money, and saying well, it'll be easier for each of you just to pay us a certain amount instead of actually fight the lawsuit. And so if DeLynn was even making any sort of money at that time, he had to have been aware of the patent trolls, because he would have been just as part of that class action lawsuit at any point. But Carolla was the one who fought it and said,
I'd love to do a deep dive into one of the most fascinating things to me is how completely innovative the mediocre can be.
Yeah,
that's like a thing that most people wouldn't think of. But this guy that's like, I want to make money and I'm not good at, I'm good at fuck all, man. So what I got to do is steal from people who are good at stuff.
It's Gad Sad's sneaky fucker concept across all dimensions, because that's just generally a male feminist is considered biologically a sneaky fucker. There's all sorts of sneaky fuckers. There's sneaky fuckers in the animal kingdom. Like you can think of there's different types of monkeys or fish who just hang out and act. There's types of fish who act like females and then sneak in and impregnate the girls. Right,
cuttlefish do that. Yeah, cuttlefish can do the thing where they can change their skin and coloration. Mm-hmm. And yeah, there are male cuttlefish that will just pretend act like a female and just kind of drift by.
It's just playful.
It's hey baby, I'm just a trans whatever, yo. Yeah, no, I'm just using your bathroom. Hey, just using your bathroom. That's it.
Like the convicted rapist that transitions to go to the female jail. It's literally that.
And so it's actually the biological term. They actually call that in biology a sneaky fucker. And then the obviously sneaky fuckering sneaks into our world all the time too. One of the weird things that's popped up this week a whole bunch, listening to all the ex-Mormons review the Tim Ballard thing, is them talking about this sex obsession of the Mormons. And,
oh God.
And there's part of me that just is you guys, but at the same time it's nobody's free of sex obsession. Shut up. Show me the person who says they aren't, and they're the worst ones. You know what I mean? We're all that's what drives the whole universe.
Or DeLynn's kid.
Yeah, or
asexual with sexual desire.
An asexual with high libido. That's
oh my God.
That's what she really is. That's what she claims.
Yeah, that is. That's one of the stupidest.
I'm an anorexic with a big appetite.
Now, thanks to her, I keep getting in the algorithm, videos that are signs you might be asexual, and it's always videos, and I'll click on them frequently, so the algorithm worked, and it's always
the first side. Do you have a bad haircut?
It's always shit do you want to have sex sometimes, but sometimes not, and then sometimes you really, really want to have sex, but other times not at all. You might be a human?
Yeah, what the hell?
That's
It's like
what
the
I'm
most
saying. Is like
broad
That
category,
describes
and
that
everything
describes
has to be.
humanity.
Yeah, then the
sex
problem is that
drives
everything has to be
everything.
valid. So any asexual identity is valid. I could have been to like 8 gangbangs last week and still claim asexuality.
That's it's been a bit of like a mind. I guess we've already said sneaky fucker, so I'll just say whatever fuck word I want. But the listening all week and the way, like, it's Me Too 2.0, really. Like, everything's coming around again, and nobody's learned any sinking lessons from Me Too. And none of that doesn't say that maybe Tim Ballard himself also isn't a weird sneaky fucker, which is that's a strange situation because he could be an alpha, but his own religion makes him happen in like a sneaky way.
Sorry, babe,
Yeah.
you gotta get on this dick so we can save some Mexican girls. Well,
But-
I guess for the Mexican girls.
I guess it's okay.
And the infantilization of women, to say that adult women can be groomed into being so, I'm just off the chain here with the fuck words, fucking stupid. Like, come on, like,
Are we
all
trying to
these-
not say fuck?
No, I usually try to not say fuck, but I'm losing it. I'm losing it following this thing.
Is
called-
that for
Never
is that for a censorship thing? Like we can get
No, I just don't swear very much. I'm not like that.
Yeah,
much
you've
of
never been a big swearer.
yes.
But now I'm flying off the handles. But I don't know. I try to be like a little bit cautious of if in case anybody listens in, somebody from my parents' ward, it could happen at one point or another. And just beyond that, it's not like I don't swear. I try not to Kara level swear.
It is cringe. There is a cringe level of swear.
Yeah. But so much of this week is just like tripping out that the ex-Mormons are still so deep into like the concept of the Me Too thing could just work on them till infinity. Like, they could never learn the lesson. Like, they could get it smacked in their face that they were wrong about stuff 7,000 times in a row. They will do it again.
I feel like. Sorry,
Yeah.
go on.
No.
No, I just feel like in the near future there's just going to be like contracts where like dudes just sign up for like, okay, Me Too's the new thing. I will guarantee you like I don't know, 10 years of fame and fortune if at the end of the 10 years you allow so and so and so and so to totally Me Too you. We'll have all this evidence beforehand. It'll be like a contractual thing, and it'll be like, okay, I guess I'll trade being thought of as a terrible rapist for 10 years of fame, and we'll bureaucratize it, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Am I getting power? Yeah, something flashed on my screen. Okay. So I listened to so much this week. I keep saying I'll lighten up on the stuff, and I quadrupled down because like all last weekend there was all sorts of polygamy stuff, and I listened to all the polygamy stuff, all of Kara's polygamy stuff, all of Lindsay Hansen Park's polygamy stuff, and now it's like basically irrelevant because like all this Tim Ballard stuff just completely.
What else do they have to say about it?
Here's what it is. No, it's not new at all. It's the same stuff. They're getting into a little bit that Don Bradley rearranged the order a little bit, and then also said, hey, some of those ladies were really pregnant when you married them. And so then that was like enough to reboot all the stuff because ex-Mormons. It's kind of funny because it's like they had enough content this week. There's enough new content. They could have just skipped running over the whole polygamy thing all over again. Because
they should have saved that for a bit because that's just always in their back pocket. If they haven't done it in like 8 months or so.
Yeah, there's going to be slow times.
They've always got a layup, so just keep that one for a rainy day because it's sort of just the nature of the beast with ex-Mormon spaces because it's a revolving door. It's only ever like 20,000 people at a given time who are willing to listen to all of this shit, but there's always 20,000 people, and as some of them get sick of it, new ones come and they want to hear all the old shit that they hadn't heard. And so they're like, whoa, did you know Joseph Smith married a 14-year-old? And John DeLynn just told me yesterday. And the other guy's like, yeah, he told me 3 years ago. Yeah, he told me 14 years ago.
Yeah, my dad told me when I was 8.
Did he really?
That's crazy early.
I mean, pretty much, yeah. Like, because that thing's 2 of Joseph Smith's wives were my great aunts. Like, so yeah, there was never a time that I didn't know about Joseph's polygamy and that he like did stuff like married
Oh.
sisters and a lot of them were what
Lucy
we call
and-
underage. And
Lucy and Miranda Johnson.
there's a Johnson that's unrelated. He married 3 Johnsons, but Diademia, I think was. Wait, I don't know. I'd have to look at the list. Delsina, I think Delsina. And was it the other one? I don't know. I know Delsina was one of them.
So here's Delenn covering it today, and there was a press conference today by OUR that threw Tim Ballard under the bus, although they stayed vague. They said, "We believe all women," and he showed the
How brave.
he showed this, and at first he didn't know if it was real or not, but then he drops that. So then this lady comes out and defends him, saying that she was one of the couples ruse people. And then everybody throws that into doubt, like she must be getting paid or something like that. Which, of course, if you listen all week to them, they say, listen, all these Mormons think everything's a conspiracy. Stop and listen to yourselves. That every other thing you guys put out there is a conspiracy too. And probably the answer of this whole thing is whatever the truth is. If we looked at what it was, is a conspiracy. It's just whose conspiracy is right. So shut up, ex-Mormons, with your stupid shibboleth of this is a conspiracy and it's bad. I'm gonna have a clip of Bill Reel thinking that you guys are so conspiracy minded. Well, everything Kara thought and put out about this, of her interpretations of it, would amount to conspiracies. This guy. So here's old Forrest Gump, Chris Hannigan, the Forrest Gump of Mormonism. Jimmy Rex. This guy went to high school with me and Kevin. And so once again, like I don't know, like where the crap I like tangential connection to D level. It was just being part of Murray, I guess. But I didn't know him very well. I knew his little brother. I played lacrosse with his little brother. Kevin knew him really well and thought he was a numbnuts back then. Sorry if I'm telling tales out of school for you.
So is this basically Chris Hanna is the least famous person in Murray, and I'm the most famous person in Idaho Falls?
yeah. That's what it seems like, right? Like everybody comes out of Murray who's like a D-list nothing, because you got Archuleta, you got the drummer from Good Charlotte, you got
we've got Yo Murphy.
Ken Jennings, he's from Murray.
Ken Jennings was in my parents' ward. My mom taught David Archuleta. I was in the same ward as Lindsay Hanson Park. I was in the same ward, or I jumped the fence. Was April Despain, the girl who put her thing on the wall. Look, there's Kevin getting me in trouble. Sorry if I'm telling tales out of school, Kevin, about Jimmy Rex, but I can, without having to put it in Kevin's mouth, I can show you what kind of doink he is.
Don't take Kevin's word for it.
Don't take Kevin's word out of my mouth for it. Although everything you've heard for the past week, if you're following this stuff, is something out of somebody's mouth that came out of somebody else's mouth that came out of somebody else's mouth that came out of somebody else's mouth. Bleh. See this We Are They movement, the We Are They tribe? It's part of like AlphaCon crap. You guys notice I was telling you guys about the AlphaCon stuff just like a week ago. There's an AlphaCon in Utah. And like stuff like it was Goggins there, but it's like type of stuff. It's like D-level Andrew Tate stuff. This is he runs one of these. He runs a D-level Andrew Tate channel.
Am I an asshole for any time I see this? Like I'm like, that's fucking cheesy. Like anytime I see anything like this where it's like a group activities and stuff where eventually, everybody's going to be sitting around a fire and some dude's going to start crying or something. And I don't know. A lot of people say that it helps them. Yeah, no, I'm saying anytime I see this, and I'm like, okay, maybe I'm an asshole because I know a lot of people say that this kind of thing helps them. But anytime I see it, I just go, "What do you think? I'm fucking gay or something?"
Yeah, it's weird stuff. There was a whole AlphaCon. I was downtown. That Flip and I were both downtown. I don't know if you saw any of the people. You saw them go around these shirts. They have these like wolves not sheep shirts, and then somebody else says lions not wolves shirt. There's like all these like different competing groups. Here's the crazy thing is I was telling you guys that like I have a guy who tried out as a drummer for my band. He went off and started one. His is called like the Wolf Project or something like that. And there's like there's as many of them as there are MLMs around Utah. And they've all just started up. They do their own conventions and stuff. And somehow they get like 20, 30, 50, whatever guys to sign up for their thing. Where's the volume on this? So this is him.
In 2023, will live 28,470 days. That's 28,470 opportunities to wake up and decide what kind of man he wants to be. If you're watching this video and you're
I'm going to need more opportunities than that. That's not enough opportunities.
520 days. Watching this at 40, you're already over halfway home. Most men wake up every single day, not even sure they want to get out of bed. No mission, no purpose bigger than themselves. Henry David Thoreau spoke of this when he said, most men live lives of quiet desperation. On their deathbeds, most men look back at the life they lived, not sad that they're dying, but sad that they never really lived. They regret the risks that they never took, the conversations that were too tough to have.
So he got that spot just because he got into real estate and he got dumb lucky with real estate money, and now he's some guru or whatever. But this is the guy who they're listening to because he went on a bunch of the excursions with Tim Ballard, and so then he came back. But what I'm saying is, like, if there's anybody who's sellable or gameable, or like I don't know how much you can trust the crap he says or not too. And I think one of the things he also talks about is he doesn't trust that there's that much stuff out in the world. And there's part of the whole flip end of all this that we've always said, like, how glowy are these guys must be, even when he shows up with that tattoo that says Joder. Like, how much do they glow walking around Mexico City being like, hey, we're just here for some kid love. High five me, bro.
Hello, fellow gangbangers. Have you any underage prostitutes?
Exactly.
Hola, yo quiero niños.
It's so stupid. Oh, no.
Tenemos dinero.
You are, because it's that bad. Church never does that. They've never done that for somebody that was an active member.
So Delin shows his whole thing. I don't know if you guys listen to that. It's like an hour long, but he just says that Tim Ballard was for sure having affairs, and that he thinks that some of their stings and stuff worked, and some of them were complete bullcrap. They were drumming up the works. I actually kind of believe that's probably true, like how he describes it. But then he talked about like their egos and stuff like that.
See,
but
I'm sure he had a pretty big ego, and I'm sure that some of this turned into affairs. The thing that people are wondering is the more like sexual assault allegations, right? Because here's the thing with I keep seeing all these smug people in Thoughtful Saints saying, credibly accused sexual assaulter John Delin is accusing Tim Ballard of sexual assault or whatever. And I'm like, okay, well, here's the thing. I've listened to the John Delin accusations, and all I can gather from them is that I'm pretty damn sure he had an affair. I don't know that I believe that he sexually assaulted anyone.
Yeah.
So is that what I don't know? Is that what's going to come out about Tim Ballard? I wouldn't be surprised.
That's what I think too, because like
affair.
I wouldn't be surprised if he had an affairs and broke up families. I doubt it was like in the middle of a sting. Like here's like maybe like the flirtation started during the sting or something like that. But if he really did have affairs, I doubt it was right in that moment. So he
look at that the nuance comment right there. I also have a very good intel that Tim is very insecure and didn't like having alpha males around him. He kept betas, yes man, sits around him, and not. Doesn't she know? Hasn't she watched that Adam Ruins Everything where he explains that alpha males?
Oh
yeah, thing? Come on,
it's true, man, it's so true. Yeah, I want to talk more about Kara because she goes off at the end of this, and John ends up reading some of her stuff. Like part of what I really wanted to get into the whole night tonight is like the credulity of RF on the shelf of journalists, and then how they're just so obviously unaware of like where they just buy everything that fits their bias, and then are skeptical of everything that doesn't, which of course obviously happens on the other side too. Oh, yeah. And it happens to all of us, but they have the thing of it where they just have this like snooty arrogance on top of it. They're the nuanced ones who follow the evidence, and that's from the start. It's what I've been tired about with them because they're full of shit.
I know that, like that. It's that comment right there. He's like, dude, thank you, all caps, for bringing up how bad the QAnon people make it. Yes, she's like, no one ever talks about how bad QAnon is.
I haven't heard a word about QAnon being shit. Never in my life.
Thank you for finally bringing it up.
Yeah. So she says, like, at the end, she goes, like, she drops all these other things. Like, I have it on good word that other lady was helping him groom, and that he was like an alpha. Like, it was just stuff that was, you're just gossiping. Like, you're, and then of course you guys spent several days screaming about follow the hard science journalist, the expert journalist, hard science. But you guys on this episode are just gossiping. It's just gossip. But that doesn't mean that there isn't some crap, and some weird crap's going to come out about Ballard.
I'm honestly, it gives me incel vibes though that he put alleged in the title.
What cracks me up is, so he said Jimmy's his friend, and Jimmy invites him to stuff, and he's been on his podcast, and then of course he gets some pushback about that. And what do you think happens?
But for some reason, I've been on his list of invitees to various events that he holds every year, kind of like community events, I think, for the work that he does. But you know, again, we've never hung out. But I'm grateful. A lot of people are criticizing Jimmy here, that Jimmy is basically trying to cover his butt. Some people are saying that may be true. I do want to say that we need whistleblowers in this world, and we have too few of them. Adam, recently, someone that I interviewed,
he's backing up. He's backing off of saying that he's his friend. Hold on, right there.
Oh, I'm going to go ahead and stop now. And
Jimmy
I'm reading
Rex.
a lot of the comments, and people are concerned about, some people are criticizing Jimmy Rex. I'll just say at the outset, Jimmy is a internet friend of mine in the sense that I've come on his podcast. We've never hung out together.
He's backing off of it. So this guy right here, I don't know if you've seen any of his stuff. He claims he's talked to all the different women, and he's a right winger. But if you listen to this, they also like say he backs off of like every
little bit, spy-like.
His name's Eric Mustos, and he says that the guy definitely had affairs with multiple women, and they've told me, and I believe all women and all that sorts of stuff. And John DeLynn, at one point, the guy starts saying, like, I just have my feelings. Sometimes when you feel it and you know. And John DeLynn goes, that's actually not a good metric to judge your feelings. This is the only, I have clips on the other stuff. This is the only one that doesn't have a transcript right now. But he says there's problematic stuff about this guy too. This guy's got problematic right-wing views too. Just like he said, Adam Carolla has problematic right-wing views. Because Adam Carolla.
But right now, in this instance, he's saying super unproblematic things that confirm all of our biases. So we'll go with it because we follow the science.
So Kara told me what the problematic stuff is of this guy, and it's that he has some COVID denial. But John wouldn't get into that.
You gotta do like a full-on. You gotta have just. Why do you have? I don't know. Do these people not have any type of idols that don't agree with them on absolutely everything in the world?
They got to make sure that they're not associated with what they don't agree with 1,000,000%, which is nobody. So that guy claims all that stuff, and then this is where he gets into the where is it? Carolla's podcast. But this wasn't where I was gonna hang out forever. But yeah, so he's pulling up all these people, but of course, like the people that he's relying on are people who are close to Ballard. But being close to Ballard means that they were right wing, so he needs to make sure to denounce them all along. Yeah, which you saw a little bit of that with like a Zelf on the shelf. I was never like a huge fan of Russell Brand, and she was a huge fan of Russell Brand, but she's got to denounce him now.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's like
on that.
I don't know, she sounded like she was being pretty fair at first, but then she goes, I'm sorry, everybody. It sounds like he is just definitely a rapist, unfortunately.
He has the power of discernment.
So on Carolla's show right here, there's probably too much of it to click and play through, but what he ultimately says is that he says the shower thing was because they were getting a massage, and then they came and offered them something else and said, okay, so before you do that, you have to get a massage, you have to get a shower to do this other thing. And so he goes, oh crap, well, what do? We have to get in the shower. And so then to not blow their coverage, they got in the shower but didn't touch each other. And he says that's how that came about. And John DeLynn goes, well, the word on, some lady points out, the word on the street is they were naked when they were getting that couple's massage. Like, you guys like reveal that you're just as like crusty Mormons as ever. Like, the only people I know of who don't get naked in a massage are really, really crusty Mormons, you know, who won't take off their
word on the street is that Tim Ballard, in fact, did not wear garments while he was ordering child prostitutes.
Yeah. So he dropped the name of the lady that he said he was doing the couple's ruse with and used her thing, and John goes, oh my gosh, this is her. And he doesn't know if she's one of the anonymous ones or not. And so he says, if he's using her name and she was one of the ones accusing, that's just not ethical. And then he also said that, so he gave a description of the tattoos. He said it was just passing it off as seeming like bad guys to bad people. And what was the other stuff? Oh, sleeping in the same bed. He said sleeping in the same bed. He said most of what people were talking about there was being in separate side-by-side massage beds, he claims. He says, and then once in a while we'd go into a room with a similar bed, and that's where we'd have to like be for a while on a night or something like that. But we'd figure out how to do stuff supposedly without doing the nasty once doors were closed. And he says it's all overblown. That's what he claims. And then Corolla, it's funny to hear on the Lynn's podcast. I'd pull him if I can, but there's no transcript. He says, first off, he says, you got all these Trump deranged idiots. And then he also talks about the corporate media being absolute horseshit. And Dylan just kind of says, I don't like this Corolla guy. I don't like him.
He probably glanced down and noticed the Daily Wire thing, and they're, oh, shoot. Oh.
Yeah. So that was a running theme, because if you listen to all of RFM's crap yesterday, and maybe I'll pull that, I've got actual timestamps for it. But their whole entire push was like, you knucklehead, knuckle dragon, troglodyte, to use Flip's word, idiots who don't just trust these hard scientist journalists, these hard super science experts, super science journalists who are just, do you even know how journalism works? And
I bet you watch Fox News.
that was all over everything. Like, you know, Zelf says that the BBC documentary was just they're the utmost respecters of journalism. And once again, I tell everybody to go watch Razor Fist's breakdown of how much they lied about Michael Jackson in their documentary. But she's just buying up everything that, and then Kara just is on a roll of like, these dummies don't buy the journalists. And then she had a journalist on, that Benjamin Park dude, and they were talking the whole entire time. And of course, he frames the whole entire thing like every shitbag journalist does nowadays, that it's a new American nationalist, Christian nationalist American thing. It's going to be big problems. But I don't know. It's like, I don't know. It really is kind of like having people review something that they're just so detached from. I almost don't know how like Zelf and Kara really are so detached from understanding exactly what it is, when like Kara claims to have been a big part of it and lived around it. Yet you guys, I don't know, they just misdescribe so entirely what stuff is. And I'm not saying that Tim Ballard's like great or something like that, or that the conservatism and Mormonism isn't goofy in its own rights. It's just it's different goofy than how those goofs describe it. Like it just doesn't make any sense to me. You know, like whatever's goofy about it, you guys don't get it. You know? So, did you guys hear what happened with Dave Portnoy?
I'm not sure who Dave Portnoy is.
So Dave Portnoy is just a bro who does like a channel that kind of reviews pizza and talks about sports. He kind of got into it with some of the corporate media because he started doing like different like events for COVID during the COVID time and giving money back to supposedly closed places, and they didn't like that he was doing that. And then he's also kind of like pushed back on some hit pieces. So this week, the week that these guys are talking about just how great journalism is all the time, right this week, he has a hit piece put out on him by the New York Times, by the Washington Post, let alone Vice, the super hard journalism science experts of Vice. And this is kind of what transpassed.
Right, let's keep playing. Validates a hit piece.
I swear, I have not written I've not written the story, believe me.
Have you made your mind up about me?
We're in the reporting phase. I don't, I can't. Not for me to say, and I'm also working with somebody else.
But that seems like a pretty straightforward question. That have you made your mind up about me? If you can't answer that, no.
I can say I have not made my mind up about you.
Then why would you include that in the email to sponsors?
Because I was hoping for a dialogue with them. Sometimes you have to say something like, this is like, it's sort of a reporting tactic. When you want someone to respond, you kind of have to indicate that there might be something negative, and then you get them to engage. That's all I was trying to do.
Pause 1 second.
That to me.
So that this week, a Washington Post journalist admitted what all of RFM and all the ex-Mormons think that the Midnight Mormons are just idiots to think is possible. That sometimes what they do is they say lying comments out to sponsors to try to get responses or reactions from those sponsors. And she says that he gets it right on video right there just this week. What she did is I didn't show you the start of it, but she didn't ever contact him at all for a hit piece they were about to put out on him. All she's reporting on is that he's doing a benefit, but he's a misogynist. Oh, and there was a Me Too moment of him that a bunch of girls said that he was rough with them sexually a couple years ago or something like that. And it all blew over because he had his side of the stuff and all that sorts of deal. And so she contacts all of his sponsors for this event and says, what do you think it's like working with this misogynistic, Trump supporting whatever guy? And they're about to run the piece. And he called her. She didn't call him. He called her to say, why are you running this hit piece on me? And he got this all on video. She says, well, our tactic is to say something inflammatory to force comment. That's this week, assholes.
Good
Was a
Lord.
stunning admission.
Firstly, it's also not true. If I'm sponsoring an event, I'm looking for publicity. If you reached out to me and were writing the article of, oh, wow, look at all this money that was raised for small businesses and you're affiliated, would love to hear about your interest in the event. Why would a sponsor not? They probably have a PR.
Rob, I'll go a step further than what you're
Yes.
saying. If the Washington Post was like, we're writing a positive story and want to include you in it, there is no company in the world that won't respond to that.
Clearly played a very specific chess piece to get a very specific reaction.
This is what's stunning about the admission. And this is like, oh man, no matter
Sorry for sharp editing. I edited it down.
how much contempt you have for the corporate press, it's just not enough. It's never enough. You cannot hate these people enough, okay? Her admission on record right here from a reporter at the Washington Post, her admission is, even from her perspective, that she has not made up her mind about this guy, but she's going to email his advertisers and call him all sorts of horrible names as a tactic to get them to respond to her. Any
That is this week, fucking John DeLeon, you fucking numbnuts.
way you slice it, that's disgusting. It's just like a despicable thing. That's what's happening here. That she doesn't really mean it. She hasn't made up her mind. She hasn't done her job or anything. She hasn't talked to the guy. She doesn't know if any of it's true, but she's going to tell your sponsor that all this stuff is true as a tactic to try to get them.
All at some point or another this week credulously said, well, these places would never say a lie because Tanner even says something about that these women won't say anything about celebrities because they could be sued for libel. Like defamation is what he called it. I mean, you dipshit. Like if you've taken the most basic of mass comm classes, it's if you are a public figure, you can basically never sue for defamation and libel in this country.
It's fun. And
It's funny when he brings that up too, because he's like, after having been steeped in all these stories and studying them a lot, I can tell that like they almost never lie. It's almost never a lie. They don't have very good motivation to lie. Every now and then I'll Google one of my heroes and I'll be a little bit afraid, but it's great because they never. He basically alludes to the fact that the people that he likes never get accused of this, and like, never even tips him off a little bit. He's like, it's always great because when I Google somebody, I'm like, okay, thank God, they're okay.
Yeah.
They haven't been accused of rape. I'm like, does that not set off maybe an alarm bell to you, man? You just think that only bad people exist in opposition ideologies, huh?
It's so tribal. It's so unbelievably tribal.
Like the only thing I can think of is like the way they talk about journalism is the way Midnight Mormons talk about the priesthood leadership.
Flip
You know, it's like, well, no,
Flip hit the point of the show. Yes.
Like that's it. Like yeah, they really can see them as like the priest class. You can trust us. Why? Because we're journalists. Well, what the fuck does that mean? You're special. You have like the magical. You have discernment. You have journalistic discernment.
You're free of bias.
You're free of bias. You only make the right decisions. Like what the hell?
And that's not to say that not sometimes they aren't right, because like one of the things for years, you and I noticed that like Hannity was just full of shit. And during the Kavanaugh trials, Hannity wasn't full of shit. Is that because Hannity must always be full of shit? No, it's just that sometimes the truth fits his narrative, sometimes it doesn't. And
Sometimes
that's
reality lines up with bias.
Yeah.
That's one thing they said a lot about the Kavanaugh thing is that like, I mean, because the Kavanaugh thing was the breaking point with me and the left. And like the way I've always summarized it is that the Democrats were so out of whack that Lindsey Graham was able to speak about the situation for 2.5 minutes and was right about everything. Like they were so off base, they made Lindsey Graham the smart one.
That was wild. Lindsey Graham became a person for a minute.
Yeah.
It was insane.
Like the
You have no idea that did cause me cognitive dissonance. It really did. Like I was sitting there like, why am I sitting here with like agreeing with Lindsey Graham? And
yeah, no, I really was like,
on
it was
Hannity
the
and
first
Lindsey
time
Graham.
ever.
There was a time frame in the early 2000s. I almost quit 24-hour fitness because I saw Fox News was a sponsor. And then here I am sitting there, I'm like, well, these guys are the only ones telling the truth now. Like you guys turn the world upside down because you're just tribal. It's not truth. It's just tribal. And you'll go back to telling the truth. Like this story was true. It was probably true that the church said stuff to Vice. But what I'm saying is Vice is this times 10. Like they're pieces of shit. They're pieces of absolute shit. And if they got one right, like our family says, Cardin gets one right, or Quaker gets one right, because Quaker actually had some integrity, saying like, I care about the truth, and the church screwed up here. Quaker just says that right out, and they get their minds blown that Quaker and even Brad and Cardin are saying like, I think the church screwed up here. But Vice maybe in this situation was right, but even one of the things that I'm pointing out with some of these clips right here is that sometimes the media can even use truthful statements to turn things absolutely upside down, and that's what's coming up in the other clips right here.
Why would that be a tactic? It's a threat. The tactic is, hey, look, we can ruin you, so you better talk to us. So this is how I force a conversation. How incredibly unethical is that to then get them to talk to you by threatening them? It's like if some chick was like messaging you and you wouldn't respond to her, and then she was like, I'm going to tell everybody you raped me.
Since we're in this whole Me Too movement, has anybody here lived through something like that? I have. Not the word rape, but I lived through a moment where there was nothing but me and another female in the room. So it's just me and her. So me and her know what the truth is. There's no audience, but she starts performatively telling me or showing me how she could lie about me just right in front of me. And like I could say this, she didn't ever do it, which is lucky for me. But like she was like threatening me in the room like that. I lived through that.
Yeah, like be careful, because otherwise you know what could come.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like,
that was
but women don't have power in our society. Stupid. You could have just patriarched
or
her, and she would have to shut up.
They don't have agency either. Like they just get groomed. Like anything that they did that they didn't want to do was grooming. It groomed that way.
It always
Patriarchy made her into that kind of person that would threaten to destroy your life with a lie because she knew she could get away with it if she wanted to.
It always ends with me saying, look, I have no institutional power over you. Like, tell me the power that I have over you, like specifically me over you. And it's always, well, it's not you, it's systemic. It's like, well, then if it's systemic, then I have nothing to do with it. So it's not really a man thing.
No, but you benefit from the system. See?
Yeah, you contribute to and benefit from the system. That, like, anytime I complain about it, they're like, hey, this thing sucks for men. They'll be like, well, yeah, patriarchy sucks for everybody. Okay, but patriarchy is men's fault. So I say, this thing sucks for men. You're like, yeah, it's your fault.
Yeah. Continuing on.
What? Why did you say that? She's like, oh, well, it's just kind of like a tactic. to get you to respond. You know, I just want to kind of like threaten
Come on.
that I could ruin your life. So just like now you'll respond to me. It's like, what? And to just openly admit that was like, wow, like that's pretty incredible.
Come
Dave
on.
Portnoy put a big W up on the board. And at the end of it, they agree to have a conversation tomorrow. So this happened yesterday. And then they agreed to have a conversation tomorrow, which would be today at 10 a.m. with her and the other guy she's writing the story with. And he agreed to it under the condition that
Come on.
Doing.
he'll record the whole thing. And Dave Portnoy just tweeted out today, just a reminder, the Washington Post said they wanted to talk to me at 10 a.m. today. So it should be right now. Then they canceled.
Of course.
So it's not only did he get her dead to rights, but then everybody can see it. A big thing that Michael Malice has been pushing for years now. I like to think we've been a part of that too, in really focusing kind of the liberty movement on being aware that you should have every bit as much contempt for the corporate press as you do for politicians. It should properly be understood as just part of the regime. You should regard these guys the same way you would regard state media. These are like the tools of the regime. The levels of dishonesty are just astounding. I go back and forth sometimes even thinking that they deserve more contempt than politicians. So just imagine, Rob, if me and you were gifted the Washington Post or the New York Times, one of these huge newspapers, and me and you run it, okay? And now we got a team of like reporters and journalists, all the resources we need, big reach, all of this stuff. And they're like, so what do you guys want to do with this? But wouldn't it be like right away, you'd be like, okay. Wow, there's so many stories to go after here. Hey, how the hell is Nancy Pelosi worth $100 million? She's been a public servant her whole life. Into that. I want to know, you know what? Let's start looking at, you pick a senator or a congressman who's worth hundreds of millions of dollars, who's been a lifelong politician. How the hell did they make their money? Let's get into that. That's the story today, right? Like, it'd be so easy. This is off the top of my head. Like, I didn't even thought of this thought experiment until I just laid it out. Let's go into it, right? Like, there's just a million things like that. And none of that ever comes up. It's just like it doesn't exist. But they'll go try to ruin Dave Portnoy for what? Being a Trump supporter if he is one? Or what? Being against censorship? Maybe just kind of being a dude? They don't seem to like that. Like, it's just like a dude who's like, sports and pizza and I'm worth millions of dollars. They don't really like that.
When you say something isn't as bad as it was before, what they hear is it's fine or it's not a problem. And it's like, I'd rather have the flu than have cancer. I don't want the flu. I think the flu can often be dangerous, but this is not a difficult choice. But they hear that you don't think cancer is a problem, or you don't think flu is a problem. Can you speak to what it was that you had said and what it is that people heard or were told that you had said?
Yeah. So context is everything. And let me ask you this question and see if you could confirm that this is true from your own experience. I've been saying this for a while. There's no such thing as news about public figures that's true.
Oh, yes, one of my lines.
Yeah, I think we're in such Baudrillardian land with this stuff. Like, and the more info that comes out, the less we know. That's what's happening right now, which is straight Baudrillard.
It's like everything they say is a lie. Every word they say is a lie, including and the. If you read a play, a lot of the beginning of the play will have cast of characters, and it'll say like Jane, a wealthy widow seeking love, Thomas, her young paramour. When they bring a character onto the scene in a corporate news article, it will say Joe Rogan, comma, a podcaster known for his history of transphobic remarks, comma. Scott Adams. They will immediately tell you from their personal perspective how you should feel about this person before they even finish the sentence. And once you spot that this is the technique, you can't unsee it.
Yeah, the context is, and the way most of the political hoaxes are done, is that the person who gets canceled did a real thing. Let's say it's on video or they wrote it or there's an email. But nobody can imagine.
And once again, we brought up before, Scott Adams here has the hoax funnel, which you can go into how the corporate media made a bunch of people believe things that were just obviously, apparently, evidently true or not true. Like he's got the bleach hoax. What is he's got a bunch of different ones where he kind of goes down the very fine people hoax, the Covington kids hoax, and
that could be out of context. Like, so the snippet is something you look at, you go, I don't know the whole story, but how in the world could I be wrong about this? I'm looking right at it. It's like really clear. And that's how the trick is done, because there are ways to manipulate it to its actual opposite. So let me tell you what I said. And then when you hear the context, see how you feel about it. So what I said was, I looked at a Rasmussen poll that said there was a very high percentage of Black Americans who had been asked the question, is it okay to be white? And an alarming number of people said no, or they weren't sure that they would say that it's okay. like alarming. Now, some people said, oh, the poll is not reliable. I'm willing to say, well, maybe the poll was off. It was directionally the same as what I was seeing in general, so it was a good launch point for the point. So what I said was, if that were true, and I said if that's true, then it would make black people a hate group, because it would mean that they have very terrible feelings about people like me. And if that's true, you should get the hell away from them. Or I used a stronger word. And then that turned into Scott doesn't like black people.
Goes into some more explanation of that, but I mean, it all kind of hinges on if that's true. And his point was at least at that moment, was he was questioning that if those guys really felt that way, or if they were getting made to give that answer by shitty poll questions.
Just imagine, like, all you have to do is change some things around. Imagine, like, they ran a poll, and 50% of Republicans were asked, "Is it okay to be a Jew?" said no. Like, just imagine if that was the poll, and they'd say, like, "Oh my God, Jews should stay away from white people." Yeah.
Well, but that's not a. Is it okay to be a Jew? Isn't a dog whistle though? That's the difference.
Oh.
Anytime I want to take an innocuous statement and make it, harmful, I just call it a dog whistle. It's the best way to do it. I thought about this the other day when I looked up. I don't know why, but I looked up Douglas Murray on Wiki. I was like, I want to read his Wiki page, and I was struck because I swear to God, I was like, the first thing you read about any gay person on their wiki is that they're gay. But Douglas Murray is one of the undesirable gays. He's one of the wrong types of gays. So like it doesn't have a spouse listed. And I finally found where it finally does one place, because you go through it and it's talking all about how he's been called anti-Muslim by so and so. He's been called far right. He's a neoconservative, blah, blah, blah. But then you finally get down to the gender and sexuality. And it says, Murray is gay and he is a supporter of same-sex marriage. However, he has said that he believes that homosexuality is an unstable component on which to base an individual identity, and a hideously unstable way to try to form any group identity. And so it's like he is gay, but not the good kind, okay?
Yeah.
This is just an exact example of like that type of polling type thing. Dan McClellan thought it was all magical and amazing because he's so data driven. People were asked if what does it say here?
This morning, social scientist Dr. Samuel Perry posted some findings of research conducted by the American Bible Society on Twitter, and I wanted to share those findings with you. This research is a part of ABS's State of the Bible.
So better off without the Bible, except the questions they ask them is, what should you befriend other races? Should you befriend other religions? Should you care for those people in prison? Should you care for the environment? Should you advocate for those who are oppressed by society? Should you be a good neighbor? And they said the people who this poll that's obviously super social scientific said that people who believed in the Bible are the people who said that society would be better with the Bible than without it. They all said lower on all these types of stuff. But at the same time, like those are all obviously like left-wing shibboleths. Like they're all obviously like, you guys are asking the question. You are messing with the data by your narratives that you're setting out there. But it impresses dumb old Dan. And of course, him, the super religious whatever guy who loves the Bible, is talking about the Bible's increasingly just becoming something that people are using for their right-wing politics. And it's
everybody knows
we
like,
should get rid of it.
The leftist asks you if you believe we should support women. Everybody knows that everything that comes with that, the feminist line that comes with that. Like, so like they're not fooling anybody because like, no, well, I mean, of course I believe we should support women, but not like you, because for you, that means adopting all of the feminist conspiracy theory, and doing all the shit that you think we should do. Like, yeah, it's absolutely a dirty trick.
If any conservative knows at all the game that those guys are playing, they know what questions they're answering and asking right there. And your stupid social science questionnaire is shit, just like most of them are everywhere.
Oh shoot, Chris, did you see that we got a reply from the Data Over Dogma podcast on Twitter?
We did.
What? Yeah, we did. It was so it was a Jordan Peterson thing, where he was talking about how he says that the meek shall inherit the earth means like the people who have swords know how to use them, but keep them sheathed until they need to use them. Anyway, he talks about how that's not at all, it is complete and utter nonsense. And so
That's what he said to us?
no, that's what he said to
Oh,
Jordan Peterson.
okay.
And so like I replied, I said, so everyone can renegotiate the text until it runs contra to the official canonized McClellan edition. And then you said, Dan, gots to renegotiate that Bible. No words mean nothing, man. Anyone right of him. Okay, Dan. No, it has a specific intentionality and meaning. And so the Data Over Dogma podcast responded, everyone has no choice but to negotiate with the text, but it is the goal to try to approximate understanding it
Oh, shut up.
in its own terms or twist it to fit our own. Our goal is the former. I'm like,
No, it is not.
it's totally
you fucking
not.
liar. That you
You
you projecting piece of shit.
You wanna
You're
know
the
how
one
many times
twisting
I've
it to
heard
fit
you
your
say-
meaning.
You don't know how many times I hear you say the text has no inherent meaning, those exact words.
And
Yeah.
words have no inherent meaning. In the dictionary, he says right out that the dictionary is not something you should trust or use. Although then he's going to use it. He's going to use it whenever it's convenient for him.
He's
or
so
if
perfectly
it's a
shameless.
different language that he says that he's the arbiter of what that language means or says.
Well, he's
That's
the
awesome.
linguistics expert and
Yeah.
he's informed. I don't know if you guys knew that.
Yeah, he was. I watched this other one where he was going off on the Greek word for being enlightened or something like that, and it was such like a different like. Well, we actually think it means something kind of closer to this other word in English, and then they were so close to each other that like the little thing that he was nitpicking. But did you guys see the one I sent you that he was hanging out with Joel McHale yesterday? Joel McHale was all impressed with him.
So wait,
Oh,
and
Lord.
Joe, like the
Did you see it? I
community
sent it
guy?
to you. Yeah, he was hanging out with Joel McHale.
Oh,
You want to
God.
see it? I sent it.
No,
I sent it.
I don't think I saw that.
I don't remember seeing that one.
I sent it to y'all.
How the hell did that happen?
Beats the balls out of me.
People are, for whatever reason, impressed with him.
Hey, everybody. This morning, social scientist
Swear
Dr.
I shared
Samuel.
it right here. Where is it? Hold on. I shared the wrong one. I must have shared the Bible one to you guys.
Yeah, you did.
I meant to send the Joel McHale one. Let's see here. Yeah, they were hanging out. They went to dinner. Here it is.
Hey, everybody. I'm at dinner with some friends, and they have to get out of the shot.
What?
Get out of the shot. You're in the
Can you hear
frame.
it?
Hello, and we have Bible questions.
Let's see it.
But, hey, that's my line.
Good.
I heard you don't.
All right, I have
really
a
like stealing-
question.
Okay.
Okay. 843 from the Book of Narnia states that bread left outside is evil. Do you agree with that? I agree with that. That's what I think.
Okay, I think that's pure and utter nonsense, but yeah, everybody knows that.
All right.
It's hilarious. I say the same things. I have like 10 different things I say over and over again. Let's see. Back to this one. Here's the last bit of media ridiculous. Last bit, like every single week we could load up and just do this stuff for the whole time. But this is, I'm loading it on top of the podcast where I'm telling you, if you go watch Cara, Deline, Zelf, half of what they're doing is like, how dare you question these impeccable journalists' advice.
An aide to Mark Meadows, who was Donald Trump's chief of staff, who you may recall was rolled out during the primetime January 6th hearing to relay the Operation Mockingbird manufactured story about how Donald Trump supposedly tried to grab the steering wheel of the presidential limo, and the driver said that he wasn't going to take him to the Capitol after his speech, of course, which is utterly ridiculous because there's a security barrier between the driver and the passenger area. Well, she's a brand new memoir recounting her horrifying experiences working for the Trump administration. And it is the #1 best-selling book in America, which means that, of course, the Democrat operatives have been buying it in bulk in order to boost it to the top. She has been on every major show in the entire liberal media industrial complex, and they are literally painting her as...
This is people parading around a lady who's got a lie of a story. Like
No, I know. This is funny because I listened to this earlier, but I didn't see it. So I didn't see it until just now. The name of her book is Enough. It's so fucking cheesy.
But
this
watch
is
this.
great though, that the
Watch
introduction they give her, because
It's unreal.
I would not know her by name or by face, but this guy is like,
Listen,
he's
what
damn near
planet?
tears.
What planet are they on? Like, listen to this.
Single-handedly stopping Donald Trump from getting away with January 6th.
Now it is time for the last word with Lawrence O'Donnell. Lawrence, I know you have a very big guest coming up this evening, and I will be eagerly watching the television to hear everything you discuss with her.
She is a terrible liar. They're trying to portray this woman as if she is like deep throat in the Nixon administration. She's going to finally spill the beans that will take Donald Trump down once and for all.
Alex, I have 2 words for you. Cassidy Hutchinson.
Yes.
That's it.
That's all you got to say.
I gotta go. I got a lot of work to do here.
Get into it. I'll
Okay.
be watching.
Thank you, Alex.
Bye.
That's the lead story. With everything that's going on in the United States, the lead story is some staff member from the Trump administration almost 3 years ago just talking about how terrible he is.
Well, she went to the Cherry Hill Mall in New Jersey looking for something to wear. She found a white blazer at Zara. There was no reason for anyone to notice the 25-year-old trying on that blazer. No one knew she was out of work, behind on her rent, had lost Wi-Fi service at her apartment because
This is an incredible and dramatic buildup, but just
didn't
wait
have
for it.
Wi-Fi.
Of course, she couldn't have worn any of the clothes that she had in her closet. She had to go and buy a special white blazer so that she could be portrayed as the innocent angel, the new Rosa Parks, who's saving America from Donald Trump.
because she couldn't afford it anymore. The name on the overburdened credit card she used to pay for the blazer meant nothing to anyone in that store. It would be the last time in her life that she could go shopping anywhere in America and not be recognized.
The poor girl is more famous than Taylor Swift now. She can't even leave her house.
In some places cheered, in some places attacked or threatened. A week later, she combined the white blazer with rhinestone earrings from Kohl's and a necklace she received 12 years earlier on her 13th birthday. And she changed the course of history.
She changed the course of history. Donald Trump would have gotten away with January 6th if it wasn't for that meddling staffer. On Monday, Rachel
Wow,
Maddow
look at this,
dedicated
look
the
at this.
entire hour of the
Look.
show to an interview with her to spew her prepared Operation Mockingbird talking points.
Fucking chills, man.
I think I cut it off, but it's unbelievable. Like, they showed that she went on every single station and she's got a lie of a story. That's all she has in the world. And then saying that the whole world would recognize her. Nobody would recognize her. I don't know one person who would recognize her. Maybe my parents who sit there and gargle MSNBC all day. But this is just this week. This is just the bullshit this week. Just a couple days since I heard all you guys start regurgitating that the press is just, man, they're just hard professionals. I had a blink. Everybody still there? I had a blink. Is everybody still there?
Yeah.
Okay. So do you want to hear the biggest scam of the week?
Oh God.
No, this is the right one, right? Yes, it is.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nuance YouTube channel / the Mormon History Hoedown. When I started this nonprofit,
Right there.
Shameless. Perfectly
That has to
shameless.
mean something.
and this podcast, I did not think that we would be seeing so soon that I would have something to report on that is such an outrageous, disgusting example of Mormon men.
I thought I misheard
where-
her. She called it. I thought it was I thought she was calling it the Nuance Ho Foundation. It's the Nuance Hug Foundation. I guess you can't put Ho in your foundation name. I misheard it when I was listening to it. But what intonation, man?
Nuance Hug?
Nuance Hug Foundation. I misheard her when I was first listening because it's still a scam. But I thought she actually
Yeah.
put the name of the thing as the Nuance Ho Foundation in her which is a complete scam. Like you have no business doing a 501c3.
Yeah. You are not providing a service that the government can't provide. A necessary service.
Here it is.
What does the Nuance Hug Foundation do?
This.
Will do a copyright strike on me.
Wait, are you
of some
serious?
kind,
Yeah,
and
that's
I
what
don't
this
plan
does.
on.
The John
podcast
Larson is
is
the one
the-
who taught them all how to do this. That they can set up their podcast donations to not have to pay taxes on them if they call it a 501c3.
Hey, I mean, that's badass that you're not paying taxes, Kara. I mean, you got my vote
And-
of approval.
The neat trick.
Yeah, how are we going to pay for all those things? You obviously talk all the time about being a lefty and all the stuff in the world that we got to think about the people.
Other
But
really-
you're not paying for them. I am.
I want to
think
know
to
how
mention-
many times she's gotten mad about the church not paying taxes now.
Yeah.
Is some of the clips that I pulled, there's a good chance that they will do a copyright strike on me of some kind. And I don't plan on this video being able to stay monetized on YouTube. And that's a good portion of my income.
Please donate.
I actually run a really tight ship around here with my 501c3 nonprofit. So links
full of
below if you want to
shit.
donate to
You're
keep this
so
podcast
full of
coming,
shit.
especially this episode, especially a lot of this research. So if you enjoy everything that I'm doing and talking and trying to expose.
Wait a minute. Okay, hang on. This has
I'm getting
been
irritated, man.
blown out. This blew my mind here. So I really was just assuming when John Delenn talked about running a 501c that like there was some actual charitable action happening. I don't know why I just
their
thought that.
podcast alone because they call them. You can call it religious in nature. You can call it religious in nature. All of your donations, you don't pay taxes.
Okay, because when she said the Nuance Hug Foundation, I thought like she was, I don't know. I guess my mind just went to like, oh, she's giving coats to children or something like
it's
that.
so she doesn't pay taxes on money she gets for her podcast.
She called it a foundation and it's just her fucking YouTube channel.
Yeah.
Yes.
What the? How did I
Oh, no.
miss that? This is amazing.
He's providing an important public service of telling us why Tim Ballard is a piece of shit.
Yeah.
And
Really
she
tight
deserves,
ship here.
she should not have to pay taxes on that because where else could we get that from?
They
You know?
they have a 501. I think Zelf set up that way too. They all have a 501c3 to do what we do. Like you can also do it for your life coach stuff. You can call that.
I wonder
some
if
sort
we
of
have
service.
any examples of any of Delin, Zelf, or Sam talking about how Scientology abuses the tax exempt status. I wonder if what are the chances we can find that?
We can find it about just
Or-
about every
or about
religion.
Mormonism abusing 501c3.
God, this is amazing. This is I don't know why I never put those together. I always just assume that there was some sort of charitable thing going on.
Yeah, no, because the other thing is like for so long we have been accusing them of just forming a new religion. And here they are copping to it. Like,
Stuff is going on everywhere.
Here it is. It's called the Nuance Hug. It's my church. How do you know? I am tax exempt on the basis that I am providing a religious service.
So of course,
entire
like
se-
her and Maven yesterday, maybe I'll pull some of those clips up. They've of course got to address that John Delenn's credibly accused too. So that
Situation that has been going on for many months with my old employer at Mormon Stories and her allegations against John Delenn. I've talked about it in another video before, but I think it's also relevant to talk about how false accusations do happen. Okay?
No, they
You have to be
don't.
super careful about
No,
what
they
I say.
don't. They never happen. They almost never. Like
Dude,
it's
when did
so
she become part of the patriarchy?
So rare. Yeah. You fucking misogynist.
Not only that, she says she lived through some false allegations.
No way. That's very nice that all of the people that you like are always falsely accused, Kara, and the people that you don't like are incredibly credible.
Let's see. I'm trying to find where exactly that one was.
False accusations do happen. Is it like a get out of jail free card? You got like one of them. You can use it once during your play, and you're like, oh, can't use it on Russell Brand. I liked him, but somebody closer to me might be a key. Oh, John Delenn. Yep, that's my. I'm gonna nope that.
Man, I can't find it. She just says it really quick. She says, I lived through some false allegations myself. I do know that they happen. But what's funny is like in all three of these podcasts that they show a clip from that Eric Mutzstuss guy or whatever. And that guy says in his clip, this is not a Kavanaugh situation. And they each of them have to kind of just like blow by and just kind of not notice that or not mention that they went off their damn minds with Kavanaugh. Man,
Yeah.
these names.
Okay. 7 women from within Tim's own nonprofit organization. That's no fucking joke. Yeah. Like this is not who said it was like this is not like some Kavanaugh case where it's one party against the other.
Like you've ever changed your position on Kavanaugh. Like if we sit you in front of any sort of leftist, like you have changed your position on Kavanaugh. I guarantee you have.
Wasn't every single accusation against John Dehlin within his own organization? But that one just so happens to not be a problem. That false accusations do happen.
So she says here coming up that I told you guys about this one yesterday, but LDS adoption agency is trafficking.
What a perfectly bigoted thing to say. Like, it's unbelievable.
It's not bigoted. It's fucking evil.
Ruined and have been ended. And for all of this to coming from a man who you go to the OUR websites, everything is about we got to save the kids, save the kids, save the kids. And again, in my conservative Mormon Kara is right. She's still here. She always was. I used to work for the nonprofit. It was all about, family unification and adoption reform. And that Kara is still alive and well today. And it's like, all right, Tim Ballard, what kids were you actually saving that you didn't try to actually commercialize and monetize their stories for your own gain? And then the power that you used, you were able to leave your family, your 9 kids, your wife with a fraudster and a monster who they now have to deal with, and manipulating so many women and families of broken marriages and broken households, all based on your manipulations. So the saving the kids thing, people can really save it, because that's what makes me the most upset, is that like that value is like the value to end coercion and extortion and like to involve the proper levels of consent is kind of just core to who I am and always has been, And so
it's supposed to be right there. What the crap was it?
Fuck is she saying?
Yeah, that was kind of word salad there.
Yeah.
Also, I like how she accuses Tim Ballard of monetizing his story.
Good.
Like was Sound of Freedom produced by a 501c3, or did he pay taxes on that?
Well, here's the thing. I'm like, he seems kind of like he's got some actual shit going on. Like I'm sure he probably did have an affair on his wife. I don't know. But the thing is, like, if he monetized these stories, used it to fund his organization that saves more kids, that he then monetizes those stories, it saves more and more, and it compounds. And I don't really care if he gets an inflated ego. Like, if you get an inflated ego from saving kids from sex trafficking, then fine, you can have your inflated. Maybe you'll annoy everyone around you, but I don't know why that would even cross your mind as
Don't stop saving the kids just because you're an ass.
Yeah, I know. You became a real asshole after you started saving a bunch of kids from an eternity of rape. Maybe stop doing that.
Damn it, man. I swear it was like right here at the 49-minute mark. Hold on a second. Why did I write 49 minutes?
Keep your name out of my mouth, Tim Ballard, that it had directly to do with the sexual misconduct allegations. And that actually does make that's the only thing that makes sense in all of this. So I'm glad that Eric is brave enough to actually hear out these women. And like I was posting on the screen, that he looks genuinely shook by this man's behavior, that he's known as a close friend for a long time. And they both speak at the Book of Mormon Evidence Conference. So they both are kind of in this Rod Meldrum schism on their own. That's where I met Eric. And you can tell that he just is trying to get down to the truth and cannot believe the type of atrocities that Tim Ballard is responsible for. So this is 7 women. I'm sure it's probably going to be strewn out over a decade. And that makes sense why multiple marriages would have been ruined and have been ended. And for all of this.
Good Lord, I swear on my life, it was right here. I'm not lying about that.
Considering what a good thing divorce is, wasn't Tim Ballard just doing a service?
Yeah.
Let's get Divorce Queen's take on this. Bring her on the show, Kara. Let's see what she has to say. What's wrong with divorce, Kara?
Yeah.
Is
Besides,
it
like-
inherently any more like? Is there
Look-
really anything superior about being
And as
raised
soon as
by two
if
parents?
Tim Ballard just comes out and says, "No, I was practicing polyamory," you patriarchal shitheads.
All of these women were in oppressive monogamous relationship.
Yeah, no, I liberated them from their oppressive, cis heteronormative, Eurocentric monogamy. I'm a hero again.
Well, it's bad in this situation.
What's some other word that they would have called like the
But it is your LDS
adoption?
Church at helping the people in it actually
Oh, come on.
change themselves and change the
What
systems
crap
around
is
them.
it? It was
so
the
that these types of things don't happen as often. So that's where I would like to. I'd like to do a larger, 10,000 foot.
Hold on, I'll find another thing while I find that one. Why did I write 49-minute mark on that? She for sure says the LDS Church's adoption agency is trafficking and is as bad as trafficking.
What an evil fucking thing to say. What
Yeah.
do you want to do? Just shut it down and stop? What are you guys selling kids to people? Well, I mean, kids whose parents can't take care of them. Yeah, you got to pay the adoption fee and we got to be funded and stuff like that. I guess we should just leave them with their meth addict parents instead. You're right.
Growing
This
up
is
without
unethical.
running water, in
You'll
a
only
dangerous neighborhood in Latin America is preferable to being a middle-class Mormon.
But you won't adopt them to gay couples. Oh well. Like I can't bring myself to give a fuck.
Only gay couples had an option outside of the LDS adoption services.
Yeah. Man, I swear maybe it gets off because like I'm listening to him live and then it's like the number wasn't exactly right.
Oh well, 40. If you're listening to him live, it wouldn't have been 49 minutes. It would have been 49 minutes from the end.
It might have been, but I swear I didn't do that with this one. Maybe I did, but maybe that's right. But why wouldn't the word adoption be pulling up there? She for sure said it. What's another word for adoption? But anyway,
LDS child service. I don't know.
it would have been trafficking. Sometimes I don't know if it's pulling the right words from stuff either. But anyway, she points out that Moose Deuce guy is a bad guy because he does some COVID denial stuff, and that all their nationalism from the Rod Meldrum stuff is bad, evil stuff. Traffic, man, that word traffic in there isn't a whole lot. She goes into a whole leftist rant. This is around like 115. Queers can be parents and all that sorts of stuff. And I don't know. Damn it. This stupid.
Boomer.
Ballard said, because he knows this is coming. Like he knows he's got to throw up something. Running for Senate, something.
Queer.
Couples ruse, like this idea that I'm gonna, if I just lie to you, I'm not saying people who get divorced that your kids don't mean everything to you. I'm trying to say that like all we had to do was just kind of refocus and push other things out of our lives, and there's a lot of just talking down to ex-Mormons and to people who are not religious, that we don't share your same family values. Fuck that. Queer people can be parents. Divorced moms can be great moms. Everybody can do better than you, Tim Ballard, because you just fucked up your whole kids' lives. So thank you, Rebecca. I love the honesty between you and Aaron. So refreshing. It's because everything is
Sure.
Queer people can be good parents.
Yeah.
Well, but can they? Because queer means to go against anything normal, and raising your kids in a safe and healthy, happy home is normal. And so, like, there's like a contradiction there. Like, to even be a parent under queer ideology is normative and therefore bad.
that's what makes me the most upset, is that like that value is like the value to end coercion and extortion and like to involve the proper levels of consent is
What is
kind of
the
core to who
proper
I am
level
and
of
always
consent?
has been, and so it's really infuriating to be on this side of Mormonism as an ex-Mormon and a leftist, and trying to see the systems that are in place and how people get away with the things that cause harm to people.
So at some other point, she says that she doesn't want to be part of any hard dogmatic program ever again. And
I think she just said, which said, as a leftist, just bring something up because, like, just a couple weeks ago, I got in another fight with my brother because I was talking about how people, like I was talking about my friends, like they say I am a communist, I am a leftist, I am a Marxist. He's like, well, I don't know about that. It made me so angry. Like, well, yeah, I know you don't know because you won't listen and you don't care to look into it. You're just like Dan McClellan, who's already decided that you must be on the right side of everything and everyone else has to be wrong. It's just like, because that's the thing that drives me nuts. Because like, it happens all the time when I talk about, well, these people are leftists, and they're like, Fox News, Tucker Carlson. I'm like, no, they say they're leftist.
Yeah.
Generally, they're not going to go and say that the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints gave us this statement. Do you know how fast the LDS Church would be suing all that they could get out of journalists for saying such false statements if they were false? So that leads to what is the serious thing? What could he have done that was so morally unacceptable that the church would have to say something like that? Tim has hidden behind
maybe she edited this stuff. She edited it out, dude. This is edited now. She was getting pushback for it. It's edited out is why I'm not finding it.
Wow.
That's what's going on here.
Oh,
you threw me off, Kara, but I figured out what you done did. It's edited out.
Can we get a retraction for that, Kara, maybe? Or are you just going to pretend like you never said it?
She knew it. She knew she was barking up a bad tree when she was talking about it in the middle of the live stream. That's why it's not there. Because I was like, why is it suddenly clipping like that? Her thing wasn't.
Yeah,
it's edited.
So she's got that. It looks like she was maybe about to say it at like 31 minutes because she says
it was around there.
Tim's plan to open a shabby LDS orphanage that he projected could make him about $20,000 per adoption in a 2022 tax return show. Zero, so something had $10 million net income and whatever. Anyway, that kind of looks like she was about to get onto that because
that's for sure what it was. It was she's edited it out. Oh my gosh, that threw me off. Oh, you stinker! Because I watched it live, and now that I'm seeing those sudden jump edits, that's like, oh my gosh, that was driving me crazy. Oh, I get why you bet. I mean, yeah, we've edited some stuff out once in a while, not often, but I get why you'd edit that one out, man. Damn, but you wasted my time. Damn it.
You crafty hoe.
You crafty hoe. That's the thing that Nuance said that she had.
A sneaky hoe.
What she said on to Lynn that she had hard inside proof about the sex stuff is that it was an Abrahamic test. I'm like, well, where do you have the proof of that? Like, what proof? Like, the hard proofs. My hard journalism from the inside stuff is that the women were told to have the sex for Abrahamic testing. Sure, like what? Back it up. Like you're the one saying that you're doing the hard journalism, and that's what this whole episode's about. Is these guys just snickering and sneering about how the Midnight Mormons could be incredulous about how weird this all was. And even if it all comes out like totally, like it's like Vice just said it right how it is, because one of the things, if you've been following anything over the past several years, is you should have been able to figure out that the media can spin or put a bad light on anything. There's literally anything in the world they can make it sound a little worse than it actually was. And it's especially frustrating when there's something that's already bad and then they still try to spin it worse. You just kind of go like, man, you guys already got the thing. Can't you just be honest? That's the entirety of Trump. Like, you guys could have had enough on Trump to just make him sound bad and be honest that whole entire time. And you went and sold your shit down the river to try to come up with every lie in the world. And all the extra lies just became mud.
Like, because I remember in the old Mormon Expression days, they were talking about, accusations against Joseph Smith and and John Larson was saying, like, guys, stop saying Joseph Smith was a pedophile. Doesn't fit the facts, all this stuff. And I remember saying, it's so weird to me that, like, there's so much that we have that's uncontroversial that we can indict Joseph Smith with. Why are you making shit up? And then that thing's like immediately, like with Trump, it was the same thing. Because I was always accused of being a Trump defender when I was like, no, that's not true. It's like, no, that's not me defending Trump. That's me defending truth. I don't like the guy. Like, there's 10 billion reasons that are like unambiguous why like Trump is clearly a blowhard and a liar and a turd and a narcissist and all this other shit. So just go with that.
I know.
Yeah, they have to add lies to stuff that they could have just left. Like they could have left the story out.
The amount of pushback that I saw people get for there was always one guy when everybody was saying, like, one dude posted something in the ex-Mormon Reddit in the early days of me leaving the church, who was like, guys, we really got to stop calling Joseph Smith a pedophile. It really only hurts your case because it's just not true. And everybody jumps on him as being a pedophile defender.
Yeah, now you're
What? No, I'm talking about reality here. Like, it was bad that he coerced a 14-year-old into marrying him. That was really bad. I think it's bad enough that I'd say he's probably not a prophet. You don't have to turn that into something like the worst possible version of what it was. What you have is already bad enough.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the entirety of this, and I would also point at Lindsay Hansen Park's episode about polygamy and Carrot, but in Lindsay's case and this guy's case, they're trying to claim some more hardcore historian or journalistic integrity, like these are professionals supposedly now at this point, right? Well, this is the thing I say look out for, because in both these scenarios, this guy just talks about the whole problem with the nationalism of the Mormon and the hard MAGA right, and he's got a new book coming out where he's talking about what's he going to call the book? Maybe has it in her theme here. Well, look, there's the Nuance Hug Foundation again, 501c3. This guy's an expert on the Mormon religious right and all that sort of stuff. But in both Lindsay's case and his case, he drops so many moralistic judgments. Like he says, this nationalism is bad. Lindsay says stuff like, we should be disgusted by this. We should be grossed out by this. This should upset you. Those are directly what they say, is stuff like that. This MAGA crowd is something that you should be aware of or wary of, and that's what's changed about journalism over the years. Like I'm telling you, in the 90s, even if it had its own biases, journalists or supposedly people with integrity never made should statements about the morality of something like that. That's not journalism. That's shitty commentary, just like our shitty commentary. You're not like some extra hard journalist. This guy writes for Slate magazine.
Why don't you ever watch that Soft White Underbelly, that YouTube channel?
I think so, yeah.
It's pretty. I mean, it's pretty heavy stuff. He's interviews like basically the kind of the dregs of society, you know, and so he'll interview like current heroin addicts, prostitutes, all types of people. He's interviewed a few KKK members, and it's never like quit being KKK. It's easy to ask him questions about him, and that's the thing. Like it's weird because you never see that anymore. How it's kind of like when I was saying last week how we watched Skyscraper, that stupid Anna Nicole Smith movie, and I was just so impressed that there were some visual, like some practical effects in it. Like it's a shitty movie, but anytime you see somebody not trying to lead the interview or not trying to make any should statements in the interview, you're like, oh, yeah, that's what it was. We used to just talk to people. And when you're talking to a KKK member, you don't really have to, your audience isn't stupid. You don't have to turn to them every 4 seconds and let them know, I disagree with this guy. Because it's not about you. You're the interviewer. You're interviewing the subject of the interview. The subject of the interview is telling you about him. And you don't have to turn around and be like, this is wrong, you know. Right, audience?
They do that so much. They do that so much.
Have you seen, Jared? I know Chris has seen it, but there's a clip of Christopher Hitchens on, like, he was a guest host on some C-SPAN call-in show in the 90s. And he talked to the Metzger boys, the father and son who were at the time the leader of like the American Nazi Party or something like that. And like, I always, back when, before they all blocked me, but like my old lefty friends, like I'd send it to them like, this is how you talk to white supremacists. Like, watch how Christopher Hitchens does it. Whereas like, because you guys are just dicks and you're just throwing accusations willy-nilly. It doesn't matter if you're right or not. You don't care, and you're being hypocritical, all this other shit. Where it's like, you should watch that clip. I mean, if you just look up Hitchens Metzger, you'll find the clips like half an hour long. And I've listened to it many times. I love how well Chris handles it. Because like, it's obvious that Hitchens disagrees with them, but he does it in that extremely careful, exacting, surgical Hitchens rhetorical way. And that's how you talk to white supremacists.
There's so much because if you think about the concept, so Lindsay brought up a bunch of times that one of the shoulds that they should have done to Joseph Smith in that time frame is worry about Mormons going in and voting in Mormon block, like using a voting block when they went into cities and that sorts of stuff like that. But then if we go over to Benjamin Park, who's talking about the bad nationalists who don't like immigration, well, what do you think happens with immigration? It's voting blocks. It's things that come in to change votes and to change things as they move into neighborhoods. That's definitely what Islam does. If you've ever heard of the Hijra, is that what they call it? And they purposely know that they can go in and do voting blocks just like Joseph Smith did. But we get one should from Lindsay about what Joseph Smith did, and a whole other should from Benjamin Park, who's there saying anything talking about nationalism or right-wing populism is de facto bad because, like Dave Smith says, you should just view them as part of the regime. That's all it is. But the way that they just blatantly tell you how you're supposed to feel about stuff nowadays without even just any regard is fine. You're not a journalist. Fine. You're not a historian. Like the second you jump into that, you're doing religion. You're not doing the hard academia. So in this whole episode, I mean, the only main criticism, I mean, they actually kind of like have some cognitive dissonance about. At first, they're like, "Ha ha, these stupid Mormons are just going to apologize for the church," and then when they find out that the Midnight Mormons don't necessarily, the Midnight Mormons were pretty critical of the church. It kind of like makes them go, "Whoa, this is going to kind of blow their minds." But they also RFM and Bill Reel are just kind of normies about what journalism is out there too. But I won't pull those clips. The main clips I'll pull up here is Maven, who kind of constantly goes after talking about the believe all women thing. She chimes in 4 different times to say believe all women, and you should be fine with accusations because the truth will come out and all this sorts of stuff.
But I did just want to say, this is also related to what we're talking about today. It's really sad, but it just seems to be an ongoing pattern, no matter how many times these things kind of blow up in the news, that when victims start coming forward, it's always the reputations of the abusers. They're what the majority of the community will try to preserve first. And that's often, like I said, to the defaming and the harassment of the victims. And we do already see this with those coming forward about things that Tim Ballard has done. They're just really, I just feel bad for the harassment that they're already getting. And again, same with the platforms. And I just, as awful as it is to be innocent of a really terrible accusation like this, it's still far more damaging to victims of abuse not to be believed, because that's something that's being.
Wait, is this just
what already happened?
Is this just a harm cause equation that she's doing in her head, where she says, like, more harm will be caused to, like, if I don't know if we put a point value to it, 10 points of pain. 10 points of pain will be awarded for a man that was falsely accused, but like 1,000 points of pain would be appointed to a woman who, like,
you're inversing.
We got to do a type 1 error here, like.
You're reversing the Blackstone formulation.
Yeah, it's just a black. Oh my God, is that what she's doing? She's just.
But that's basically
that's the feminist line. Like, I mean,
it's like, yeah, it sucks that a couple guys will be falsely accused, but it not as much as it would suck for a couple of women.
There are 10 gajillion examples of this, but the one that stands out most in my mind is the Rolling Stone rape on campus story, where they published a story accusing a whole bunch of men of committing a gang rape, and like the story fell apart immediately with the like most basic investigation. Like, never mind being a journalist with the money and resources behind you of Rolling Stone. Just ordinary people were able to point out, like, they didn't even have an event at the frat the night that it was supposed to happen. Like, everybody's got an alibi, and like, it all came out immediately that it was fraud and that the journalist that wrote it did no due diligence. And the line was, well, rapes do happen, so it's okay that we lied about it this time. They literally say that. I mean, like, just a couple of months ago, I mean, it's sort of related, but it's the same attitude. But I was in a room with somebody, we're talking about Roe v. Wade, and this is a Mormon lady, by the way. And and I said something about, like, I think it's just funny that I agree with Sandra Day O'Connor and Ruth Bader Ginsburg about Roe v. Wade, and like, she didn't even know what I was talking about. She just goes, men can have no opinion about abortion. And I pushed back a little bit, and she's like, men get away with abusing their wives. Like, that was literally her justification. Some men get away with abusing their wives, therefore men can have no opinion on abortion. That's the connection. Like, they really think like that.
Well, they tell you, any marriage counselor is going to tell you to not like store up ammunition, right? When you get into relationship fights, you got to let the resentment go, right? So you got to, if you have a problem with your wife, you got to tell her, and you got to work it out. Because if you don't, what you're going to do is, at some point, she's going to have a problem with you, and when she does have a problem with you, she'll be like, "Hey, you're actually not quite. I don't know. You're supposed to do the dishes. That's your thing, but you haven't been doing them," and you'll have the resentment from last time to pull out and be like, "Well, I had ammo in my pocket, bitch," because, like, I don't know, you haven't been picking me up from work on time or whatever it is, and okay, but that doesn't have anything to do with what we're talking about right now. Like, if I say something about the way that abortion laws are carried out, I don't agree with. Well, men hit their wives. Like, that's just ammo that you had in your pocket that had nothing to do with what we're talking about right now.
Revenge, says Christopher Rice. So this is, once again, if we go back to maybe all the way at the beginning of when we started just like pumping this stuff out, it was going off of John DeLynn and his accusations. Well, that's coming up right here in a minute again. But the concept, the English jurisprudence, the Blackstone formulation, which is, if people didn't know, it's that it's better to let 10 guilty or 100 or something like that, guilty people go free than it is to convict one innocent person. And because you're now the guilty party if you're convicting one innocent person. But it's actually 10, but I've heard some people say it should even be more. And Christopher Hitchens used to talk about that all the time too.
That was Ben Franklin.
I wonder where the number is that it doesn't become true.
I don't know what the number would be, but like, that was sort of the point, is that Blackstone said 10, and then Ben Franklin, just to probably just kind of joking around, up the number to 100.
Yeah.
Being falsely accused is equally nightmarish. I'm sorry. It just 100% puts things up there. It could destroy your life just as badly forever in people's eyes. But beyond all that is, I think it's kind of funny because, like, I can talk to like the right wing, like the Mormons and all that sorts of stuff. Is like, it's so easy to say instead that I am a classical liberal who believes in jurisprudence and neutrality, or taking a null hypothesis on a position, because guess what? In the Tim Ballard situation, I don't have to have the gift of discernment either. Like, I get to say, hey, that wasn't my freaking game. Like, I just take this guy at face value that he seems good on paper. It seems good. And once he does something bad, I don't have to own that. He owns that. I don't own that. Like, there's maybe you can do background checks on certain positions in this world or something like that. But until somebody does something bad, it's never my fault that I didn't discern it. That's what you could say to like the right wing.
That's always what it is. Do you hear that family that's trying to sue Jack in the Box? I don't know if you saw it, but that lady, like, they got into an argument over they didn't put curly fries in their bag, and the lady got pissed off that was working the drive-through, pulled out a gun and started shooting at the car. Like, yeah, she missed, so she didn't.
First they threw ketchup packets.
Yeah, she's throwing stuff at him, and then you see her pull out the gun, rack it, and just start firing. And they drove away. They didn't get hurt, but now they're suing, saying that Jack in the Box needs to do better background checks on their employees or whatever. And they're like, "What the hell are you talking about?
Yeah,
like, how are we supposed to figure for this absolute monster?" Just boom, boom.
I mean, they have, like, in the application, there's like a little questionnaire, like they do the like change math, can you do change and all that? And then they have, they have those scenario questions. And there's one of them, somebody is mad that they didn't get their curly fries. A, apologize and give them curly fries. B, pull out your handgun and fire.
Yeah, so
Yeah, but it's like they're supposed to know. They'd be like, "Wow, you are the one. Like you attached yourself to this employee, and how did you not know they were going to shoot at somebody?" Well, okay, here's the thing. Like I didn't know that. I like the idea of saving kids from trafficking. Like I think that that's pretty bipartisan. So it was weird to me when a bunch of people like Zelf on the shelf started getting down on Tim Ballard with nothing to go on. Right? They just shat on him for nothing. Other than like, oh, he's detracting from the Mormon victims. Yeah, he should be looking at the church. Like, no, you guys are being idiots. Now you think you're retroactively vindicated, but you're not.
Yeah, you didn't have the gift of discernment either. Like it's 100% across the board. I don't have to have the gift of discernment to foresee that somebody's bad or not. I can go off of my own judgments, or maybe there's something on a resume or background check, but still, it's ultimately not my sin of not knowing somebody else was a bad sinner on something, so that you could say that the general authorities get themselves in a pickle with that one. But
everybody retroactively, everybody in hindsight, they go back and be like, yeah, well, I never liked Bill Cosby, you know.
Yeah. The flip end of that is like, I also don't have to condemn somebody off of hearing an accusation. In fact, I have a lot of experience in my life of being the person who's got to sit and listen to all sides of different stories. And maybe I won't pull the clip later because you can just believe me that Maven said it. It's kind of a pain in the ass to pull things. There's enough here. But of course, she says later, she says almost all these things are figured out through evidence. And so there should be accusations. If somebody's going to complain about me, they can complain about me and it will come out in the evidence. No, it will not, Maven. No, it will not, Maven. No, it will not. One of the biggest things.
What a tragic thing to say.
One of the biggest things that was like a big talking point in all these sorts of things for years was that you shouldn't worry about fake or allegations because they're super rare. It's super rare that it comes out that allegations are fake. And that's true. Although I think that's gone up and up and up because incentives have changed in the past 15 years, and you'll see it go up and up and up. And if incentives stay changed, you knuckleheads, incentives change things. But it was also true that it was super, super, super rare that there was a conviction. What does that mean? It means 95% on both ends of stuff stays in the hazy gray area. Almost all of it doesn't get resolved, Maven.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
this is one of those.
I mean, about the John DeLynn stuff.
She says at the end, yes. Well, I'll play that right here.
It's
But at
like-
the end, she says nobody should worry about false allegations because all the stuff comes out in the evidence. She says
no, it doesn't. Like one of the biggest issue with the whole situation is that in almost all cases, like unless you've got like a video, the evidence of rape and the evidence of consensual sex are indistinguishable from each other. They're utterly indistinguishable.
Yeah. And beyond all that too, I mean, I've been through enough of these investigations myself that you just know, I guarantee you, if you go listen to the DeLynn played a lot of it to his credit, but if you listen to Ballard talk on Adam Carolla's podcast, you'll suddenly start questioning, like, maybe this guy's being overly set up here a little bit. It won't be like 100% set in your mind. Then you go listen to other sides and go, yeah, he was doing something skeevy. But this is the ultimate truth of it. In most cases, the more information you get, just the more confused you get. The more gray area you get, the more you can't tell for sure, unless you have, like you said, some real screaming, smoking gun, like some video of the proof of it. And that's always great when that happens because you're like, phew, because when everything's he said, she said, you never get to the bottom of stuff. In fact, that's in the law of most sexual harassment claims, that this is ultimately ended up in a he said, she said situation. And there's nothing you can do about it. Maybe keep them away from each other. That's it. And but if it turns into a world of the court of public opinion, it's keep them away from each other, and that guy's a sinner. You know, it's so this is the ultimate truth of it. And I've definitely caught situations where people were lying, and I've caught situations that were totally true. But the deal is, it's not very hard when you start hearing to all sides to reserve judgment. Reserving judgment doesn't hurt anybody's feelings. It doesn't say to the person, I didn't believe them.
Is that an option?
That's one of the options I'm telling you is here, people.
I don't have to immediately know exactly what happened and then be right about it.
Because I thought
no, you don't have to have the gift of discernment or inverse Blackstone formulation.
If
This
you
is
don't
what I'm telling you guys.
immediately-
I
if
promise
you don't
you this is
immediately
the key.
convict, then you're a rape apologist. Like
No,
Hell yeah.
no. I have come from the mountaintops. I am Zarathustra. Here to tell you, you don't have to immediately convict in the court of public opinion or have the gift of discernment. You can withhold judgment. No hypothesis. This is a possibility. I have a dream that we can go back to what everybody fucking knew 20 years ago. We all knew this.
I'm
knew
telling
this.
you, man. I'm telling you, this is not how my religion. They're not gonna be happy with this. I'm gonna come tell them what you told me, but I don't know how they're gonna take it.
It's outrageous. Like, I can't tell you how many times in my life, if I think back on it, that I've been able to say, I don't know if you're telling the truth or if you're telling the truth. And because I don't know, I genuinely in my heart do not think you are evil or do not think you are a liar. I don't know.
Dude, I've gotten into this so many times in like the Rittenhouse debate. I remember when that was happening, and I talked to people. They'd be like, "Well, he's clearly guilty of murder," and I'd be like, "Okay, what would change your mind? Like, what fact can I tell you that would change your mind? Like, would it be like, I don't know, if the dude who he attacked got his hand on his gun and was trying to get it out of his hand, would he be justified in shooting him? Well, yeah, I guess so. Like, okay, well, he did. And like, well, he probably thought Kyle was going to shoot him. Okay, so that wouldn't change your mind. And they're like, what would change your mind? I was like, I don't. If Kyle threatened to kill him, like if we found some video footage of Kyle saying, "I'm going to kill you, don't run away," and the guy tried to or "I'm going to kill this baby," and the guy jumped and grabbed the gun or something like that, then that would change my mind. We don't have that video. I'm not really emotionally attached to one outcome or the other. I'm just don't jump to conclusions. That
I don't
feels
get why
pretty
it's
obvious.
not only obvious. I don't get why it's not natural. Like I get like sometimes in my life I'll make a snap judgment. Nobody's above that. It's like, oh, this guy did this. Oh, this guy did that, or something like that. But even in those situations, I'm able to change my opinion, not even with evidence, just with I can change my opinion back to, oh, I guess I don't know. You can change to that. Like, you don't have to have evidence that the opposite is true. You can change to, oh, I guess this is a bit more complicated than I got. And what I guarantee you with this Tim Ballard thing is you're going to know about as much of it in the end of all things as you know about the whole Joseph Smith story. It's just going to be a great, big, giant, he said, she said, whatever. Everybody can choose what they want to choose, but really, you don't know what happened. That
Well,
you're
plus,
not
when
going to get answers.
I mean, when you're married to an outcome, everything that you see happen in the trial is evidence toward your outcome for you. I mean, that was when Kavanaugh freaked out. Like when Kavanaugh got like, oh, see, he's angry, he's rage-filled, he can't contain himself. When Kyle Rittenhouse broke down in tears on the stand, like, oh, see, these are crocodile tears. It's more proof to me that he's guilty.
And I guarantee if they thought somebody's innocent, like when John DeLynn got raging mad about his claims, and
see, he's so passionate. There's
He's so
no way
passionate.
he'd be this passionate if it was a real accusation.
Oh, again with Kavanaugh, Blasey Ford. She cried. She has to be telling the truth. Kavanaugh.
That's
He
what-
cried.
that's what the
He's
Lynn said.
obviously lying.
Yeah.
Like within the same day, the same people were making those claims. We know that
Yeah.
Blasey Ford is telling the truth because she's crying, and we know that Kavanaugh's lying because he's crying.
Yeah. But beyond all that too, there's a second level of that, is that the man must have had agency. The situation must have happened, but the man must have had agency, and the female must not have had agency.
Says the feminist.
Yeah. She was groomed. She had no chances or options or anything in the situation. There's one thing I love Camille Paglia about that sort of stuff. I mean, she's got her weird stuff, but Camille Paglia will just drop down and be like, oh, shut the hell up, women. You wanted the right to go out into the world and risk being raped. Like, you are agents in this world.
No, that's the whole thing. Is like Christina Half Sommers talks about, like, she was in the early days of feminism, where like it was about things like, the women in colleges had a 10 o'clock curfew and the men didn't. And their whole thing is like, no, we can go out after 10 and we'll take the risk. And if something happens to us, well, we took the risk. Just like men. And but of course, feminism is a supremacist ideology. So what they want is all of the freedom and none of the risk.
They want to shatter that glass ceiling, but please do not stomp on the glass floor.
There is no adult agent grooming. There's no adult agent like power plays and all that sorts of stuff. There's manipulation and dupes. There's not childish, infantilized, whatever.
I was groomed. Karen, you're 32 years old.
Things really, conspiring against him. So I just wanted to point that out that, even for him, even when he was innocent, like he had the documentation to back himself up, and those who were accusing him, importantly, did not. So the evidence was all in his favor. And to those who are accusing me of being hypocritical on this sometimes when it comes to John Dehlin, which RFM has also been reporting on with that whole situation, I just want to say like the same thing is happening here. So I feel like I have been completely consistent with my morals and my values the whole way through. And even in this case, like if you start believing the victim first, that's something that I support. Again, until evidence comes out differently, as in the case of Adam, that's all what I want to say there, I guess. So I will go ahead and put up this last clip.
You don't really want to. You didn't say anything about that. It's just okay for Dehlin. And both Kara and her both mentioned they refer to Jen. They're not referring to Rosebud.
Oh no, they're not, because everybody knows Jen is insane.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a, I guess, ex-Mormon bipartisan issue, but it's just funny. She's like, I feel like I've been consistent with my morals. I'm like, I guess if your moral principle is believe everything bad about my enemies and nothing bad about my allies, then sure, you've been consistent in doing that.
For sure. So they mention their credit. There was a time that some dubious
User, so it looks like they haven't given the permission, and I don't know which page it's from, but they said, in all fairness, I thought it was a false statement as well, but from someone like Jonathan Streeter, which like
I knew it wasn't Jonathan Streeter
almost got
because
me.
the name of the church was spelled correctly. Sorry, John.
So anyway, I just thought that was interesting because that has happened before, I guess, and I totally forgot about that. Didn't make this connection.
So dubious things have happened before, and dubious things have happened in the media. All I'm saying right here is get off your high horse that they were in that a bunch of true believers were incredulous about this, because not only that, as you guys saw, I've seen almost all of them accept that this is real now. Like none of them are sitting there holding out that this was fake or a lie.
Well, that was
get off your high horse that they were incredulous at first.
They're adjusting their opinion with new information.
That was such an irritating part. There was the back and forth between the thoughtful saints and the lobster group. And in this case, the lobster group was so much more annoying to me because they already hated Tim Ballard. And so they were such smarmy cunts when they were talking about, like, Morgan Aldous was being such a twat on, like, see, your Tim Ballard guy is a piece of shit, blah, blah, blah. And he'd like show screenshots of Jacob Hansen kind of trying to work through this weird cognitive dissonance. But Jacob Hansen has slowly kind of been like, okay, I guess some things are wrong with him, And so you don't get points because you happen to hate the guy that was wrong, and the other guys tried to defend him for a minute before they figured out, no, I think he's probably wrong too.
Yeah.
And things are not getting better.
Right. No. And I just wanted to say too, I think probably a lot of people, I know we try not to get political sometimes, but we obviously do a lot because I mean, these things are kind of connected. So I'm not a fan of a news station as well. And I'll just go ahead and say it's Fox News, but I have never, ever said anything.
I've never had anybody in the entire ex-Mormon world ever say that your thing's untrue because Fox News. That's never happened once, guys.
No.
Not even when I don't get the information from Fox News. Nobody ever says, what are you, some Fox News guy? No.
It doesn't happen every single time that I comment on any NPR article.
You need to quit getting all your news from Fox. I don't.
Like I said, I developed a new Zen koan, which is like, if a self-described Marxist professor publishes a tweet where he says something Marxist and it's covered by Tucker, does it become a conspiracy?
Well, here's the thing. When people accuse me of watching Fox News, I'm like, I don't even get most of the Sean Hannity jokes that you guys tell. Like, you guys always call him a liar and a hack, and I'm sure he is. I've never fucking watched him. Like anytime I see, he annoys me. So anytime I see a clip with him, I'm like, I'm not really going to listen to you. I don't trust you. And I've never watched him. So I've seen like a collective 20 minutes of Fox News, probably.
Yeah.
So I get really tired of being accused of getting all my news from Fox.
Well, that's things like
I watch more Young
Tucker
Turks than the Fox.
sometimes. Yeah, I watch Tucker sometimes, and
Tucker's
I agree
not even
with
on
him
it anymore.
sometimes.
And
Yeah.
I've seen Tucker sometimes since he's been off of it, but I don't think I've seen any Fox News since Tucker's been off of it. There was a little while where, a bit partially because my YouTube algorithms gave it to me for a bit, and sometimes I do just follow how my algorithms go, and they go wild sometimes because you could say, "Oh, that's the right wing tube," like Tanner says that Russell Brand was like the immaculate example of going down the right wing pipeline.
It was the
But-
what was it, the new age guru to right wing pipeline?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
That
if
was one thing
I
that was creepy is that YouTube, I like because I know I didn't do it, but I was like, because one day I was like, why do I keep getting Fox News clips? And then
Yeah,
I
it
saw
seems
that I was
wild.
subscribed. I'm like, I never
Really?
subscribed to this. I swear to God, I never subscribed to this.
I wasn't subscribed, but there was a while that like I most stuff that like if it went to another video afterwards, it would go to Gutfeld afterwards.
Oh man,
And,
yeah, it kept showing me gut. That's right, because that's what made me look. Because I'm like, why does it keep showing me gut filled? I hate gut filled because I mean, like I always say, the worst thing a joke can be is not funny, and gut filled is not funny.
But there was a time because when the Russian collusion papers came out, and when the what do you call the thing where they tried to remove Trump,
The impeachment.
the impeachments happened, like that first and second impeachment and the call and all that stuff, I got into the weeds of all that stuff. I can hardly regurgitate it now, but I read the entire Mueller report. I read the entire Senate report. I read through everything that had to do with the impeachment and what both sides were saying and what Dershowitz was saying about the whole thing and what their arguments and defenses were and all that sorts of stuff. And so I'd catch like through that time frame and through the Kavanaugh time frame when I wanted like every piece of information. I watched a ton of Fox News on purpose, and I watched a ton of MSNBC at the same time on purpose. I was during those time frames because it was like the first time it blew my mind. It blew my mind that the right wing is telling the truth on this stuff. Like what? Like what? Like to me, like I hadn't lived long enough because I'm sure sometime in the past it had been the other way around. You know what I mean?
I think
All you gotta do is
yeah,
wait
I
long
feel
enough.
like I feel like my moment with that was Matt Walsh.
Yeah.
Because I had family members sharing Matt Walsh blogs from back like when he just had a blog, and I couldn't
Mhm.
stand him. I was like, because it was all stuff like it was like all anti-gay marriage stuff, and I was like, dude, I cannot imagine giving a fuck if gay people get married. Like I cannot imagine it, and I get so annoyed with him, and then all of a sudden he's on Daily Wire, and I was like, yeah, I don't like that guy, but I just not listen to him, and then all of a sudden we lost any semblance of common sense that we had before. He did his "what is a woman" thing. I was like, okay, well,
I guess
Matt
we're
Walsh
allies.
I guess I'm listening to Matt Walsh now.
We're allies till you get your way and try to pass laws based off your weird Catholicism. But
Yeah, well, now he's on his kick where he thinks that people should be publicly caned and shit like that. So
Is he really
Or
saying
he-
that?
Well, he's praised. I can't remember the place.
there's been a lot of arguments lately.
Singapore.
Singapore,
um,
yeah, he's praised Singapore for their how they deal with drug users.
There's been some big debates. Well, they won't come on, but like the red pill people are been talking to them about they want to get rid of no fault divorce, and they're making a big fat deal out of it.
Yeah, well,
there's no
he's-
putting that cat back in the bag.
He shat on Pearl Davis, which was pretty funny because she was acting like she's acting like Matt Walsh, Ben Shapiro, and Michael Knowles are too young to know how raw of a deal marriage is for men, and she's telling everybody not to get married. And they're like, "What the fuck are you talking about, lady? You're like 10 years younger than us and not married."
Yeah.
And they're all like, "Let's get married." And I was like, all on board with this Matt Walsh clip. I was like, yeah, marriage. Awesome. Yeah, talk about marriage. I love it. And then he's like, also, let's get rid of no fault divorce. I was like, wow, I don't know about that, man.
So I don't know if it's true or not because I was just listening to it right before I was coming in. But Rollo Tomasi says he has on good authority that Pearl is on Daily Wire payroll, and all of that is controlled opposition bullshit. Like she's there to pretend to be like a fake red pillar to get dunked on.
Who
and look
says
like
that?
an idiot.
Rollo
Tomasi
Tomasi. So it's
that.
probably a Brittany
Oh.
Venti email.
Mhm. Yeah, that's true too, because he got totally burned by the Brittany Venti stuff. But Brittany Venti's, man, she's also just, she's got the most mean girl vibes in the world.
She
But,
does. She's hilarious.
yeah. This is where they get shocked that Kwaku says the church screwed up. I don't know if
We're going to publicly condemn a man who's dedicated his life to the church and then not even leave a name as to who's doing it. We have to find out hours later on one article when they say, I guess it was sent by this church. I mean, I don't know Doug Anderson, but if the narrative that seems to be true about how this went to be happened, then Doug has been a total coward in this situation. 100%.
Okay, can we stop there?
Yep, pause again.
Okay, so now Doug is a total coward because he
Well, they go back and forth because they say that Kwaku tries to pin it on Doug, but Kwaku did plenty of pinning it on the church too. He wasn't dumping it on the Doug guy.
Pause. If you want, if you're shocked when Kwaku says wild things about the church, I mean, this is the guy that's trying to marry the church with reincarnation in the thoughtful faith group right now.
Yeah. So of course, to be real, just using the word conspiracy at all means
That's the
Doppelganger.
part that's the fake news. Yep.
Yeah, this is more conspiracy thinking. Here we go.
Doppelganger.
It kind of does if you're the director of media relations for Fair Mormon. Now we're starting to get in the nitty gritty. If you were the janitor on of Key Bank, it doesn't mean you're speaking for Deseret First Credit Union. But this is, I mean,
good point.
This guy, I mean, the director of media relation for 15 years sent this device condemning Tim Ballard, calling him a betrayer, and saying he's doing things that are morally unacceptable.
And so, look, if this is all the Mitt Romney camp putting pressure on a MAGA candidate and using the church and PR representatives as leverage, wildly unethical. If that's not true, and it's just, this Doug guy as a rogue operator casting aspersions upon a fellow member simply because he's running for...
what does the word conspiracy mean there? Like,
Yeah, what the fuck are you talking about? They're throwing out ideas.
they're throwing out ideas that are plausible, but whatever happened in the Tim Ballard situation or is happening is a conspiracy. Like whatever the answer is, it's a group of people who come up with stupid little inside answers or jobbies or twists to stuff. Like if it's on Tim Ballard's side, or if it's on the church's side, or if it's on some politician side, multiple people came in together to try to come up with some stupid idea to do something. That's the answer. I don't know what conspiracy it is, but the answer is the thing had a conspiracy in it somewhere. So the dumbass leftists just like want to say like the word conspiracy, which was invented by the CIA anyway around the JFK stuff, and you guys just drop that word right now. Anything like that says that you can like just wave off any sort of person as an idiot when you guys have conspiracies. Marxism is a conspiracy, you knuckleheads. Like the entirety of Marxism is all the great big powerful elites in the world designed the system called capitalism to come get you. That's a conspiracy theory.
Member simply because he's running for a political office and he didn't like that campaign or that person or whatever, wildly unethical. If it is a church who doesn't have handle of its own employees well enough, they can't keep them from doing this kind of thing, and it happens and they don't come out and say, no, we love our members, all of our members in good standing will be treated ethically, this is a rogue actor or else a rogue politician or a rogue whatever, wildly unethical. Like in all 15 scenarios we look at so far, the treatment of Tim Ballard, to me, has violated every...
So there's Cardin saying that all these different things that are just conspiracies, like you got, this is why I get so frustrated with them, is like they get up in their heads, like in a weird way, they're defending the church right here, saying that, oh, they're just conspiracy theorists or something like that. No, what Cardin is pointing at right there is any which way he looks at it, the church did something that he doesn't agree with. That's coming out of Cardin's mouth, and they do mention that they notice that it kind of blows their minds that happens. And they say, this is the first time they've ever done it. And I'm like, no, you guys don't listen to them closely enough. They do defend the church and sometimes overly exuberantly, some to the point of frustration with ex-Mormons, but they definitely will call out the boomer bureaucrats of the church, and it's one of the first reasons I ever started saying, like, you know what, these guys aren't half as bad as the old crowd used to be at all. They will call out the boomer bureaucratic bullshit here and there.
Oh hell.
That's all that though. Do you want to listen to Zelf be idiots?
I love listening to Zelf be idiots.
We're gonna do idiotic Zelf.
This one's all just mostly about Russell Brand, which, like I said, we already talked a little bit how she just buys the BBC article wholesale, even though it was all dug up by a bunch of reporters. But supposedly there is a bunch of hubbub out there that Russell Brand was always a baddie all along.
All along in it.
All along in it. But I think most of this could come down to the crap they say at the end, which is kind of more
you know, I listened to this whole thing and I was like, if all of those things are true, then yeah, that guy's a lot of things he did was gross. But
yeah,
I don't know.
They talk a lot about journalistic integrity and all that sorts of stuff, and how they don't understand that they got to be journalistic. No,
oh yeah, and she makes sure to plug the Vice journalists that Dylan just interviewed, because bastions of integrity.
Sadly. I did a little dig back into his YouTube channel again after a few years. I've only very vaguely watched his stuff over the years. And I was so surprised at how right-wing he's got, and how his entire comment section is Trump fans. Like, it seems like his base at this point is people that love Trump. Like, he posted an interview with Marianne Williamson, who we've talked about.
What is she talking about?
And so she's claiming the Russell Brand fans are Trump fans now.
Like, there are things we like about Marianne Williamson, and I appreciate him, kind of platforming someone who's not sort of a mainstream candidate.
Sure.
And the whole comment section is just hating on Marianne Williamson because she dares to criticize, but because she criticizes Trump. And something I thought was so interesting is, okay, so for example, Russell did this video.
Yeah, real quick, I just want to notice there that Troy said at the end that John DeLynn is reporting that Tim Ballard is excommunicated. And I've seen some people cast doubt onto that one and say they don't think it's true. But I don't know. He says he has a highly credible source.
I mean, that's pretty fast work for the church, unless this has all been going on in the background. I mean, I guess I don't know.
I mean, it was pretty insanely weird. I mean, the whole thing was weird. It was weird how they very quickly came out and condemned him like that. That is unprecedented. So it wouldn't totally surprise. I don't know, man. I feel like Nilsson is really HR risk averse, like we've been talking about.
And he's also fallen down and not attending.
Oh yeah, he's not going to conference that's just tomorrow, I guess. Or not this weekend.
Yeah. Somebody says Cenk Uygur is the worst. That is correct.
Oh yeah, he is. He's terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's an evil person.
Video where he was criticizing, Big Pharma using this clip of it's Joe Biden and Kamala Harris talking about, I think it's part of the Build Back Better initiative, but basically how they've made it, the Biden administration, to their credit, for all their many faults, like we're not Biden fans here, but they capped the price of insulin at $35 a month. That's something Trump didn't do, that they were able to do. They have made it so that basically it starts with like 10 medications that have no competitive generic version. They've made it so that Medicaid or Medicare, I'm not going to be an expert in how I talk about this, but they've made it so that Medicare can like negotiate prices to get lower prices for people. And basically like the top 10 drugs that older people are dying because they can't afford, they've made it so that the cost of those drugs is going to be lower. And as part of this plan, there's like more drugs that will be added to that list every year, but they like started with the big 10. And Russell Brand's like criticism of all of this is basically that this is still like really watered down. Like Big Pharma has still clearly had a say in watering down this bill because Americans are still paying way more than like European countries for these drugs, even with the lowered prices. And that's true. And and this is the thing with Russell Brand is like he has in the past been like quite a champion for working class people. And I've really appreciated, he went through this period where he was on the British news a lot, really like challenging these, what do you call it?
Just traditional capitalistic.
Yeah, like crony capitalist narratives, or just standing up for working people, basically, and like cutting through the bullshit. And so again, used to love him. So in this video,
Isn't crony capitalism a dog
yeah.
whistle for racists who don't think that regular capitalism is crony?
I don't think she realized that she said that the crony capitalism is saying that the government's interfering in your capitalism, and that's what he was criticizing. That he's doing the same thing now.
What was it? So the criticism there was that he said that it's bullshit that we're still paying more than European countries. But she didn't ever really level a criticism at him for it.
It's because he's like, it's funny. He just says, "Oh, I'm not a Biden fan," but your whole basis of this is that you're annoyed that he's criticizing Biden for doing a stupid, shitty crony capitalism thing.
And then you said he was right about his criticism. I don't understand.
She says coming up right here though that it's because Trump was worse.
Uh-huh.
Which I guarantee that you guys did not spend any time looking up the policies of Trump. Like all the lefties don't realize that Trump made the what is it for diabetes? He made the insulin free, and then Biden undid that and then redid that, and they gave credit to Biden for that. Trump also did a thing with the drugs, with drugs. He wanted to have them all more transparent, so you had to see the pricing and the pricing of things and compare them across countries and all sorts of stuff, and making that transparency was going to reduce costs across the board on that stuff, and that got overturned by people like Elizabeth Warren and people like that.
He's criticizing Biden and Harris because clearly Big Pharma kind of got in the way of this bill being better. Like, it was originally supposed to do more, and as is always the case in American politics, lobbyists get involved.
Speaking of which, I've just finished Thomas Sowell's most recent book, Social Justice Fallacies, and he has a whole huge chapter on how rich people fake out and dupe lefties. It's a great chapter. He calls people are not pawns, or except they are. But he goes into a lot of detail about how a lot of these different things are things that the people who make the money want to do to. All the stuff that would make competition higher and cut government taxes and stuff plays towards the benefit of the populace. All the stuff that makes taxing higher plays to the benefit of the rich people. And Thomas Sowell lays it out beautifully in that book. It's a whole long chapter, and I couldn't regurgitate it because I've listened to it once, but it's the guy's just so over the top good. But
I just thought it was so interesting because the whole video, he's criticizing Biden and Harris, and all of his followers are Trump loving, but it's like, but Trump didn't.
You guys used to be the ones. It's you who've changed if you're a lefty, because you guys used to be the ones who talked about big pharma and their overbearing pricing and also fakeness. It used to be the left. That was the left. Russell Brand didn't change. You changed because you guys just follow your hardcore, hard journalistic journals.
Do anything to lower the cost of medication or cap insulin at first. And while I completely agree that Big Pharma watered down this bill and that's fucked up, the way that they did that is by, number one, basically every Republican voted against the bill.
What do you think? How do you think everybody at Pfizer votes? How do you think? Because they're bleeding hearts.
Oh, and is it Joe Manchin? How do you say his name? Joe Manchin was single-handedly the reason that certain cool stuff didn't go through.
Joe Manchin, the Democrat.
And he's technically a Democrat, but in name only.
No, not in name only. He's
not technically. He's a registered Democrat.
And in this video, Russell Brand doesn't even bring him up. He's just blaming Biden and Harris, and it's Biden and Harris only have so much power. If they can't get
Biden just signs it, and he'll sign the best version that comes to the desk.
Exactly.
The best version. What do you?
He doesn't have the power to just be yep, now all drugs are cheap, as far as I know.
He's not writing the bill.
Yes, he does. He did all the insulin stuff was done under executive order.
So it's so interesting.
And it was executive order that Trump did. That's how he was able to turn it back so fast. That made the transparency in the pricing.
Russell's presenting this video as if he's being informative, but all he's doing is kind of mocking Joe Biden and Kamala. But he's not talking about the actual series of events that took place that watered down that bill. He's kind of just acting oh, he criticizes the Democrats a lot. He's like, the Democrats are in the pocket of Big Pharma. And it's like, yes, but like the Republicans are no less in the pocket of Big Pharma. Like,
no, they aren't. Like there's not anybody in Big Pharma who wants a Republican in there. Not anybody in Big Pharma wants Republicans in there. And Republicans suck. But the best thing about them is maybe right now that they're not loved by those shitty people.
they donate to equally, depending on who's in power. You know what I mean? Like they might give more to the Democrats on a year that they win.
They donate equally to everybody. They want everybody in their pocket 100%.
But it's
and the overall like conservative philosophy behind it is to deregulate, to let the big business run its course.
Yeah.
Yes, and that would cut.
Oh, that would
listen
cut
to Thomas
insults
Sowell's
for
most
sure.
recent book. That would cut pricing everywhere. What?
Absolutely.
Without interference by the government.
Yeah. So why have you got an issue with you?
So there's
YouTube
this great example I can think of from work where I might have even brought this up on here. We have these air samples that we take all the time. We carry them on our chest when we're in a contaminated area. And these the plastic things that hold the filter, they're like $68 a pop. It's just a stupid, dinky little piece of plastic. Anyway, one of our technicians, they got her a 3D printer. She's very industrious. She figured out a way she designed a new filter holder on the 3D printer because they kept busting and we kept like daily having to buy several of them. So we stopped buying them because she just printed out like 10 of them a day. And that was more than enough for us. Then they found out about it. Not even the vendor, but our higher ups, some dumb bureaucratic dickbags found out about it. And they're like, well, we're undercutting the vendor. That's unfair to him. No, you made it. We're making a 10-cent piece of plastic 10 cents instead of $68. And like, nope, you can't do that anymore. So that's just a perfect example of how, you deregulate that part of my stupid like job. And oh my God, the amount of money we would save on that.
Kevin just sent me a picture of Jimmy Rex inviting him to one of his conferences. Why would Ballard say he's in good standing with the church? Oh, because he could have been lying.
Building family man Kevin is not alpha enough.
Gotta work on that alpha, man.
Yeah. You look great. Your kids and family love you. You build for a living. You're not man enough.
Yeah.
You gotta give
control of
that
your
Rex.
Like loved him for in the past. And I don't know if he I don't think he calls himself right wing, but it's again, he interviewed Marianne Williamson and everyone in the comments doesn't like it.
He doesn't need to call himself right wing. You'll do it for him.
Sam, you're not going to research it because you guys never do the research that you actually claim that you do. But maybe in a lot of these areas, the issue is that Russell Brand is correct and you're not listening. All he did is look at things harder.
Like every shred of progressive values that he has when his audience doesn't want them. So it's almost like they've just gone away. And it makes me sad because again, I think it's noble to criticize Big Pharma and to talk about let's talk.
It makes you
Okay,
sad.
but so far all you're doing is criticizing him for shitting on Big Pharma.
It makes her sad the person she decided is a rapist is part of the other political party. Like what?
Talk about how this bill got watered down. But it didn't get watered down just by Joe Biden sucking. It got watered down because there's a Democrat in the Senate and all the Republicans who is so paid off by Big Pharma that he didn't vote.
So you're apologizing? Joe Biden's a great president. Sam, is that the
for it? That's so you're not providing any value by just shitting on Kamala and Joe.
So we've said a million times Trump's whatever malignant narcissist he is and whatever, but nothing is worse in the world of these guys trying to come up with some sort of explanation somehow that Biden's still a better choice.
I know.
It's ridiculous. I think Trump sucks, just like Michael Malice was saying. The flu sucks. Cancer is worse. We're not saying we love the flu, but cancer is worse. And Biden is cancer. And when you get Biden, it's because, like James Lee said, Biden is not the room. You've actually got Pfizer in charge of your country. That's what you've got, Sam. Figure that out.
in that
The
situation.
tribalistic fire of Trump versus Biden.
Yes, and like Russell Brand is someone who, again, in the past, I loved for sort of his perspectives that he would give on sort of mindfulness and spirituality. I really resonated with, and I felt like he really
Back when he was free to rape, he had better opinions.
understood the importance of like going beyond tribalism and recognizing the interconnectedness of. And now I'm like, who is this person?
Are we watching just the most high level playing out of the
Bring back rapey Brand? I cut him off out of the. Bring back rapey Brand.
Recognizing the interconnectedness of. And now I'm like, who is this person?
Are we watching just the most high level playing out of the New Age to alt right pipeline?
Yeah, I know, but it's
Which is the more I think about. I mean,
I hate to break it to you, but if that's true, one of the things he also did with his life is become a married man with kids and not a rapist in that process. Too.
Yeah.
Like that's part of that process, you guys. Maybe it'll happen to you one day. Did you see the one from anyway, the Troy Ballard stuff, all that stuff, like I said, it's clowns reviewing clowns. Like we're reviewing these guys being goofballs. I think Tim Ballard's pretty goofy. I think that whole situation is really goofy.
The thing you sent me of the guy that was like part of the organization, that half an hour thing, where because that guy says was he sexually assaulting people? Absolutely not. Was he a skis ball having an affairs and breaking up marriages? Yes, he was.
Yeah.
That guy, I think, of everything I've heard so far, that's the thing that makes the most sense to me with the information I have.
Yeah, that's the guy that Kevin and I know, and you can join his Alpha Bro network. All you got to do is line up in a row. I guess they do stuff like one of those confidence falls or something like that. I don't know.
God,
I saw pictures of him.
I had one of the most insane experiences doing the trust fall. It was my seminary teacher, and he made me the seminary class president, and I was the only one that he should have trusted. He did a trust fall. He had everybody catch him, which was fine, but he's like a big fat guy. Like he was really fat.
No.
and it worked out fine. And then he's like, now I'm gonna show you how much I trust you. And he stood up on the piano bench, and he's like, okay, should I do a trust fall? And all these fucking asshole kids are like, yeah. And he's like, okay, shit. And he's standing up there, like looking back. You gonna catch me? And then he looks over at me, and I'm just horrified. He's like, Jared, do you think I should do this? I was like, oh God, no. I don't do this. And he's like, why not? It's like, you're too large. I don't. And he
gravity.
Like, well, okay, he actually did get down. But they wouldn't have caught him. He would have snapped their fucking arms. I hate trust falls. It's a cheesy team building exercise. I don't know. I can't handle that shit.
You want to take a look at Nemo being upset at being denied temple recommends, or do you want to look at the stuff about Deseret News claiming that 1/4 of temple recommend having Mormons drink coffee?
That was interesting, but it's also one of those things where it's like news that isn't news.
I know. You're like, it's kind of like, wow, that's weird. That didn't happen when I was younger, but you're like, whatever.
Oh, that thing's before I left the church, at the time that I left the church, I should say, masturbation was a sin. And apparently that's off the books now.
I don't know. It was a sin when I left. I didn't know it had stopped being a sin. Are you talking to Natasha?
I think it's not. I think what they did is it's basically.
If you're gonna say it, at least say it right. It's masturbation.
I think the church adopted a don't ask, don't tell policy toward masturbation.
Well, one thing that he does pump is he says that you got to get coffee in your system. Like, I didn't like it at first, but I forced myself to drink it for another month. So once again, there's Bill Reel pushing drugs on everybody. Coffee is cool. I've drank a bunch of coffee in my life and all that sorts of stuff, but there is a level of it kind of going I wish I never got this habit in any way, shape, or form at the same time. But it's not as bad as other stuff.
That does remind me of something though, because on the lobster thing when they posted that, and you said something about it's just become dessert.
Yeah,
it reminded me 15 years ago I had a friend that managed a Starbucks, and he was talking about just that, and he said like he told the story about how like he worked there for many years, and he watched as there was this group of girls that they turned 16, they're 10th grade, turned 16, got a driver's license, and every day on the way to Cottonwood High they would each stop and get like a venti frappuccino, which were like 800 calories a piece, and he's like he watched like these girls get fat from 10th to 12th grade just getting fat on frappuccinos.
It's funny because anytime, like at work, and anytime coffee gets brought up, there's always some Mormons in the room. There's always some Mormon lady that's like, well, it's actually really unhealthy for you or whatever, and which is bullshit. And then there's always like some brand new ex-Mormon's like, actually, it's pretty healthy. Okay, Rebecca, she's not talking about it's healthy, but those studies aren't talking about your fucking milkshake that you get in the morning. All right.
Yeah.
If it has caramel on it, it's not healthy.
That's usually true of vegans too. Like one of the first things vegans will tell you like how unhealthy meat is, and usually the first thing I say to them is, Oreos are not healthy, and that licorice is not healthy, and then you kind of see something go over their face, and they realize like most of their diet is licorice and Oreos because they're vegan. But
I had my mission trainer. It drove me crazy because he is a jackass in 10 million ways. But one of the things that bothered me is that when we do the word of wisdom teaching, he had his own little thing where he talk about how coffee has a lot of tannins in it. And tannins is what leather workers use to turn skin into leather. And by drinking coffee, you're literally turning your stomach into leather. And like it's one of those things where it's like I don't have to know anything about like chemistry or science or biology. No, like almost most of the world drinks coffee every day, and there isn't a pandemic of people with leather stomach disease. Like
that's that list. I got that mental list that I filed certain things that are actually sent because John Dehlin the other day was talking to that woman who got a divorce and had to put her kids in daycare, and he was trying to tell her that there's no evidence to suggest that daycare is in any way inferior to being raised by a parent.
Brother.
And it was funny because I heard that and I immediately was like, I know that's bullshit. I know that's bullshit. And then and it was funny because I saw that lady, the anti-feminist lady, did a podcast on it recently about just how bad daycare is for you compared to being raised by a family. Now, obviously, it has to happen sometimes. It's not ideal, but it has to happen.
Sure.
And it's funny because I sent that to Morgan, and she was like, I feel like I don't really need to listen to this to know that that's obviously true. And I was like, no, I have a complete mental file of things that I store away saying that I don't need any fucking studies to tell me that this is true. I'll listen to it because it's interesting, but I didn't need to hear that.
You just need them when vouch types go source.
I know. Do you have a source to falsify that coffee turns the inner lining of your stomach into leather? No, I don't need one.
Yeah, I don't need that source.
Charles says I'm one of those weird coffee people who goes.
I was like,
to
I had
bed
that
at night.
with the COVID vaccine doesn't prevent getting, transmitting, or getting sick from COVID. I'm like, yeah, I don't need a study for that. I got the vaccine and then I got COVID.
Yeah.
And that literally happened to everyone else I ever knew that got the vaccine. They all got COVID after the vaccine. I don't need a study to tell me that the vaccine was ineffective at best.
Hey, this is problematic, Flip.
Oh.
We can't talk
Damn
about
it. We're going to have a little warning at the bottom of this video now.
That's what Dehlin and Kara said was problematic about the Moots guy or whatever. Charles Wagner says that he's one of those guys who goes to bed thinking about what coffee he's going to make the next day. I've had multiple people in my West Ward signal to me on the DL that they like coffee. I'm sure people are. That's one of the saddest things in the world is because, like, I know my dad would have loved coffee. My dad was a Postum drinker, and I know he was just doing it because he was daydreaming about coffee. Like, I would be a coffee drinker. You sit there at the Postum and be like, no, I guess.
I've got an 8-year-old uncle who is by far my favorite uncle. I have so much love and respect for that guy. And he was always just a very good Mormon guy. But like, because I was talking to him about, my job. And he said, he's like, I was never interested in alcohol except for wine. I think I would have really liked wine. I want to be like, Come on, just do it.
It is sad that there's certain people that
you're
you know.
80. Come on, your wife is dead. Your kids are all out of the church. I won't tell you, Bishop. Come on.
I know my dad would have been a coffee aficionado, and my dad had weight problems, although he's gotten in much better shape as an older man. But I guarantee you, had coffee been his thing, he wouldn't have had those weight problems. So it for sure probably would have been healthier for him. But and he would have loved it. He would have loved it, and he's had a whole life without it.
Hey,
and that's
coffee's great, man. I brew some. I mean, I get it ready to brew in the morning every night.
I like it, but I overdo stuff like that. I overdo Diet Coke and I overdo coffee. And if there's anybody who can get overly into that stuff, but at the same time too, I overdo that stuff black and I can get shredded on the stuff. And I don't think that's true of the ice cream or hot chocolate or whatever it is. But
Here's one. It's confession time, Chris. When was the last time you had a starburst? Isn't that your mortal enemy is starburst?
So I went to that's the when I fall off hard, and I fell off last week because I was on vacation last week and I went to the Raiders game, and I think I showed you guys a picture. I went to the Raiders game, and at the Raiders game I was in a suite and I had free food at the Raiders game, and so this I'll kind of like joke and I'll tell people like, so if I had like 104 boxes of candy on Sunday, the 52 weeks I did before that, I could have had just 2 candies in those 2 weeks, but instead I had all 104 of them last Sunday. That's I'm not exaggerating very far either, but I went off the rails just a little bit on vacation. But if you said before that, it was the previous October. So
wow,
and that's a real number, anyway. I had the same food. I can show you the picture of the same exact thing that I ate every single day for 11 months, if you care to see it. But because I took a picture to show somebody the other day, I was pulling a sneaky 1-2 one-a-roo on you on this one because I actually didn't want to talk that much about the coffee thing. I wanted to talk about something that he threw himself off of using an idiom from English.
Shrooms.
Money. I am a worthy member. I can't believe I'm saying this, but at least Bruce R. McConkie had conviction. Now it's just all watered down milquetoast. Members who think the rules don't apply to them. I don't know what milquetoast is. I've heard that cliche or that phrase numerous times in my life, and by numerous I mean 10 times.
10 times.
But I don't know what milquetoast is.
Really?
It doesn't sound delicious, but it doesn't sound bad either.
So that's not milk toast. You're using it wrong, and this is why RFM always rips on you because you don't.
Because he doesn't know milk toast.
With your 147 IQ, you don't get the stuff like that. But if you look at my name, I've been waiting on all night. I'm Casper Milquetoast. Who's Casper Milquetoast? This is Casper Milquetoast. He was a comic in like the 1850s, and it's hilarious. His name's Casper Milquetoast, and it's called The Timid Soul. And we frequently talk about how Mormons, like if there's anybody who is like the original OG cartoon of like the niceness of Mormons, that's what this comic is. Like this is the comic. It's all like single panel stuff. Like, hey buddy, you got a light? And he's dropping all of his bags. Oh, I think I can accommodate you. Watch this space. Well, really, if something doesn't occur pretty soon, I shall have to leave. It's like 1880s type stuff. And the timid soul. Oh, but look at this. He's wearing a mask. Mr. Milquetoast, who believes in the preparedness, almost scares himself to death because he sees himself in the mirror with the mask on, walking around with a gas mask on. The timid soul. The timid soul. Tickets bought from speculators will be refused at the door. He's ripping up the tickets saying, well, there goes $22. That's probably a lot of money.
It's honestly though my favorite my favorite part of Mormonism Live is his little back and forth with RFM when RFM makes fun of him and he doesn't even realize it.
Yeah, he doesn't. Like there was
if he was on there, he'd have been like, it's actually when you take milk and you just pour it all over your
you
just dump it into the toaster.
It's raw French toast.
Yeah.
So here's one. He's standing in the rain. Well, I'll wait 1 more hour for him, and if he doesn't come, then he can go and borrow that $100 from someone else. That's the essence of the Mormon niceness that's around here. There's another one somewhere. I don't think I had it shown, but there's one where there's just like a census taker, and it comes to the door, and it's him standing there with his wife, and he just says, "Are you the head of the household, sir?" And you just seem like looking defeated, because at that time frame that would have been just an insult, right? But we've all cooked ourselves down. We're all Casper Milquetoast now, the timid soul. We got this big old timid soul. I mean, go back here. Hold on. Look at this. Choosing your wife is the most important decision you can make. Yeah. I forgot about this girl. That was this
I know.
year, right?
That was March. We had the meme bingo, and she was March, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Did you see Britney Spears dancing around with the knife?
I've seen the pictures, but I don't have any reference for it. That was another Matt Walsh. I told you so, and he goes, "Remember when I said that her dad still needs to have conservativeship over her, and you guys said I was a fascist?"
Yeah. It's just a TikTok of her dancing around with knives, but it was so crazy that like a bunch of people started copying it and making their own TikToks of it.
Yeah, that's everything I know about Britney Spears. I learned from the BBC for some reason. Like they report on her sometimes, but
So this is a big one that came out that all the lefty Mormons on Twitter got. That same guy, Benjamin Park, thought was amazing, that the more Republicans see Trump as a person of faith than Mitt Romney. And that makes a lot of sense when you've read whatever his person's book and know that religious identity has become predicated on culture war issues rather than theological beliefs, personal piety. And I answered that. I answered in a few places because a bunch of people poked it around, and I said, you guys need to get it through your thick skulls that yes, narcissists have more belief than Machiavellians. You figure that out. Like all these lefties are shocked that you're saying Trump has more belief than Biden and Pence and Mitt Romney and all that sorts of stuff. I'm like, yes, there's more of a belief soul in the, like, if there's anything that was kind of just machine acting shark eyes, shark nothingness in the world, it's the Machiavellians. The narcissist, once again, the flu's not cancer. The flu is the flu, and cancer is cancer, and the flu sucks. The malignant narcissist sucks, but I bet you he's got all sorts of beliefs about the universe that are kind of cosmic and bigger than him. Whereas the Machiavellians are soulless sharks. And figure that out. Figure that out for once in your life. Just figure that out. That's all I ask of y'all. Man, I'm getting a bunch of dings from the ex-Mormon. I commented on some ex-Mormon thing and it's getting dinged. Whenever that starts happening, I start going like, uh-oh, did I say something stupid?
That was me all day yesterday.
Yeah. Oh, because you said, do you want to look at that? You defended or asked
If you want.
Mormons or ex-Mormons. Do you have the post? I just posted up the post. Oh, in the meantime, I'll show this.
Wait, what do you want me to? You want me to send
Pull
you?
that up and send me the link to your comment, and then I'll show this in the meantime.
Oh, this is I never noticed the cover art of.
Oh, I can't show it because Psaki and Hillary Clinton doubled down on Putin and the Russian.
Oh my God! Still,
no way.
I thought I had the video, and not only did they double down on it, they also say that Trump ruined their election. That Trump screwed with their election, and the election was fake. They say that in an interview yesterday. The sovereign are the people who can be the exceptions. People, those are the only sovereign. So. Do you have the linky beep?
Yeah, hang on.
What is this? Is that Bill Reels?
It's the cover photo for his thing. I never
Did
looked at it.
Did he make a new one?
No, it's just we haven't looked at it. And that man, the eyes were it stopped me. I was mid comment when I saw it. I was like, ugh. And that dog to his right looks like a little slug. I guess you can't quite zoom in on it very well, but it's.
Does everything have enough fingers, or too many, or not enough?
They look like they have the right numbers of things.
Well, the dog in the middle has like a third eye falling off its nose. That one is a weird little slug dog.
Oh,
and
yeah,
the other one
yeah,
has
that's
2
weird.
legs.
I've been seeing these posts of like these weird AI generations, and one's like of a Post Malone sitting on the toilet at a concert. I'm like, whoa. Did you send a C post? Okay. Where did it go? Where did it go? I swear I had like video of we don't need to watch the video of her saying that. Did I?
What are you looking for?
I've clicked on your thing. It's just why is it not going there for me? I'm trying to go to your post. There it is. It just wasn't pulling up.
Boop, boop, boop.
Mormonism and men.
Oh, this one.
You want to go ahead and read it?
Oh, sure.
I can hear you. I'm just running.
Is it talking with ex-Mormons? One of the most common complaints they have is the Mormon Church was sexism. In a couple of my posts, quite a few of you have expressed that women are taught to be meek and submissive and men to be domineering and self-important. I know a few people who grew up with fathers or uncles who fit this description, but from my upbringing, I nearly always experienced the opposite. Through words and action, I always remember being taught that as a man, my spouse's happiness is priority above mine. Most Mormon men I knew were very docile and let their wives trample all over them out of some warped vision of humility. In fact, the most common piece of advice I'd get from those men when I married was happy wife, happy life, or remember to always say, yes, dear. The messages I received from the way these men acted were 1, always put yourself last. 2, you are a wretched creature and a charity case, and your wife is a saint for putting up with your idiocy. 3, your wife is always right. 4, do whatever you can to immediately satisfy your wife, even if she's being unreasonable. And also, don't tell her if she's being unreasonable. Did anyone else experience this? And I got a couple of guys in there that were like, yeah, man, I was like this. Even a couple of women were like, no, I noticed that too. But my God, there were a couple of people. I was called a sexist. And it was really a lot. And it was really funny because while this was happening, I'm getting bombarded with like, see, he's got 98 comments on it. So I'm going back and forth with this woman calling me a sexist. And while that's happening, this other post I'm listening to from some like red pill place is blowing up, where it's this girl saying that her dad found out through a paternity test that she wasn't his daughter, and she's 19 and she's in her sophomore year of college, and he just immediately cut her off. And all the people in the group are like, yeah, the dad's based. That's so awesome. He's don't pay for someone else's kid or whatever. And I was like, dude, I got a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. Okay. If I found out that one of them wasn't mine biologically, I couldn't turn that off. I couldn't just immediately be like, you're not mine. Bye.
What kind of psychopath
I know
would
you'd have
imagine that's how somebody else would be?
Yeah, that's
so
insane.
scary.
And so I was immediately called like a simp cuck bitch. So I'm being called a simp cuck bitch.
I mean, you kind of are, but not for those reasons.
Yeah. By these guys, while at the same time, like an incel misogynist by the woman on this post. So it was just like this weird, what a clown world.
Yeah, the things that makes you a simp cuck bitch is because you're always talking about how happy you are you got married, that you love your wife, you feel lucky that you get to, have a family and have all this fulfillment. You simp cuck bitch.
What are you, gay?
The thing that reminds me of is when they're talking about the post, and I just remember I've got a friend who's gay, and he was raised nominally Catholic, like only nominally Catholic, so you can cut the church right out of it. And he's like, they never went to church, but there's a kind of two parts to this story, but because I met him through my ex-girlfriend, and one day I went over there and like I don't even remember what it came up, and I was talking about typical girl shit that she was doing, and like he's gay, and he's just like, I don't know how you guys even put up with him. and we started talking about this, and he says like his dad, like even as a kid, his dad like sat him down. He's like, I'm gonna give you advice about women. Just do what they want. It's easier if you just give them what they want. Like, it's like, and so again, like this guy's gay, so he's not part of the patriarchy, and yet like that was the message he got is like, it's easier to just give them what they want.
I was even throwing them a bone in here. I was like, look, I think the whole yes dear thing, I think that's sexist to say, because I think what you're doing when you say always tell your wife yes dear is you're acting like she's such a childish bitch that she couldn't handle any opposition of any kind. And she's not. She's a grown up. And if she can't handle it, then you don't want to be with her.
Yeah. Totally.
So it was a fun time. Yeah, I was called an incel. And when I said, what are the incel vibes here? She's like, I'm not calling you an actual incel. I understand you have kids. Like, oh, you didn't call me the thing that you called me. Yeah, and you're saying troubling things, and it's.
Are you a neckbeard that lives in your mom's basement?
Oh my god, that insult needs to stop. The mom's basement thing is just.
Did dude bro come up? Are you a dude bro?
I don't remember. A lot of things came up.
I mean, it's just they're pretty predictable. Those things are always the things that come up. Is neckbeard, incel, mom's basement, dude bro. Those are the things.
You don't get laid.
Yeah.
Small PP
says Casper Milquetoast launched in 1925. Eyes off by 50 years. The guy was born somewhere around there, I think. But Rami Boy says, if this live goes any longer, I'm sending in some photos of my tats. Send them in. Don't you know you're hurting your family, though? You're hurting your family, man. John Lynn for president 2024. I hate the fact that I'm a straight white male. Let me show you one little thought on tattoos here real quick. Tattoo artist. And I were noticing we were talking everywhere I go, there's like all these people with all these tattoos on them, and I know some friends who got some tattoos, and I look at all the tattoos on these like young girls. I'm like, where did you get the $40,000?
I know.
Or do you have like some friend who did it? But like at least is how much my friends' tattoos all costed to get like a full sleeve and stuff like that. And then I see these kids have more tattoos than that. Like who's giving them to them, or did it just go down in price? Did a Thomas Sowell type of economics happen and the prices of it went down over time? Because I cannot believe all the tattoos on the bodies at the young people. I mean, maybe their daddies paid for them, or
especially considering that how many of them don't really work.
Yeah. No, there's this. I remember like I wanted to get a tattoo for a while. I don't know. There's still kind of tattoos that I want to get, and I don't know if I'll ever do it because I'm very indecisive about it. There's just like 22-year-old woman I work with who is covered in them, and I'll be like, yeah, just if I get one, I want it to be like something meaningful. She's like, why? And just get it because it looks cool. Because it might not look cool tomorrow. And I don't know. And
but that'd be like, you might get your hero tattooed on you, and then your hero might turn out to be Bill Cosby.
I had the idea for a tattoo for a long time, and it had to do with the myth of Sisyphus. And I was into the myth of Sisyphus before it got big. Like if there's anything I could be a hipster about, like I was into the myth of Sisyphus in like 2000, 2001 or 2. And I am so glad I don't have the myth of Sisyphus on me somewhere right now. It'd be so pathetic. And oh my god.
No, like the closest I ever came to getting a tattoo, I thought about it, was like as an immediate aftermath of my divorce. And I remember I took Doodles. I gave Doodles a ride to the university at Westminster, and he had to do something. So I just went to the library and I randomly picked a book off the shelf, and it was like Great Speeches in Time. And I read Martin Luther, the original, not the king, Martin Luther's speech to the tribunal that convicted him of heresy and all that shit. And the last words he said was that it is neither safe nor wise to defy your conscience. And I thought about getting that tattooed on my arm because I was like, yeah, that's me. But it was one of those things that was like, afterward, I was like, well, no. Like, sometimes you should examine all your beliefs, and your conscience can mislead you, And so, like, I'm so glad I didn't go through with that, Like, I didn't get very close, but I contemplated it for a while. But, that's like piercings and tattoos are two things that, like, I thought about, and I'm glad I never did.
Yeah. And I figure like whatever other sort of thing, like if I came up with a really cool idea, all I'd have to do is wait for 5 to 10 years and it would become not cool again, because that's how stuff tends to go in the world.
I've had
I
two
even see
separate
like
guys that I worked with who got divorces, and when they did, and it happened like months apart, they didn't know each other, but they both in the exact same way came and like, yeah, I'm getting my arm done. It's I don't know if you could tell, but it's a phoenix, because it's it's like me, it's like rising from the ashes, and I was like, that's fucking gay, man.
So when I was in Vegas, I played poker next to a dude who had the Steelers tattoos all over his whole body. And I was like, wah, wah, wee, wah. But even that, like, I was a Chiefs fan growing up, and if I got the Chiefs fan crap is so popular right now, and now Taylor Swift is there. Oh man, would I be embarrassed? Taylor Swift's hanging around.
It's like a personality now. The amount of friends that I have who will post like a meme talking about it. It's like somebody talking about getting a new CD or something, like oh, I gotta buy the new album that dropped. It's like me trying to not buy a new tattoo this weekend because I can barely make rent. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Marty says, I'm behind. I find it cute that Maven thought the audience was unsure of her feelings about Fox News.
You got Maven who changes her hair from turquoise to purple to green every month.
I better not say what channel it is. No, I guess I'll say it. It's Fox News. Oh, they extra irritated me this weekend a little bit. Let me what was I gonna show?
Damn it, where is it?
So this movie right here, it's a Richard Linklater movie. Everybody wants them. Did anybody ever see this?
No.
It's basically like a part 2 to Dazed and Confused, if you ever saw that.
Here's something to share real quick.
But I was just going to say that this movie right here, the whole last scene of the movie, one of these idiot jocks talks about baseball and he likens it to the myth of Sisyphus. But this movie presents it as if it was that idiot jock's idea, like not that he got it from Camus or anything like that. And when I saw this movie, which was still like, I don't know how long ago it was, because Sisyphus stuff's gotten popular even more since then. But when I saw this movie, like the second I saw that, I was like, oh, thank the Lord I didn't get that tattoo. Oh, thank the Lord I didn't get that tattoo. The second I saw that scene, I was very relieved that I never did it.
Did you see what I sent?
I'm grabbing her.
Screen share that. That came out in 1996. I remember I read the City Weekly that was published in.
Almost there. Ooh, hold on.
It's in the messages.
Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, okay.
I'm trying to get to the Sherry part now.
We're so good at this.
Share screen. That's because I got too many things open now. Share. Old folks home conversation in 2050. Well, this is going to be really weird, actually, in 2050. I see back in the 90s, you were an idiot, too.
Do you know who that is? Who drew that?
Who?
That's Matt Groening. That's Life in Hell.
No, no.
Yeah, no, because like
Life in Hell had all those one-eared rabbits.
That too, but he did. I mean, he did all kinds of stuff. But like that's things like I remember because I was in high school when this came out. Because like I used to pick up, and it was before City Weekly was City Weekly. It was back when it was still Private Eye, and they were the only paper in town that ran Life in Hell. And like the only reason I ever picked it up was to see the new Life in Hell. And I remember laughing at that then because I was looking at all my friends in high school, going like, "You guys are gonna regret some of this shit. I know you are."
Actually, Daniel Tosh has a great bit where he talks about how. He says it's pretty dumb when people say like that's gonna look dumb when you're old, and he goes, none of these people are surviving into their elder years. What have you ever said? I need to go get some sagely advice from that kindly old gentleman with a fucking spider web tattooed to his face.
So my friend, he's the bass player in my band. He wouldn't mind me telling this out of school. Music's on it, you know, but I almost never see it anymore. And just recently, because he's always like sleeved up, and just recently he mentioned that, well, his daughter wanted to get a tattoo, and he's like, "Don't get a tattoo." And I was like, "Well, I thought you liked your tattoo," and he never shows it anymore. And it's almost worse. It's not that he's embarrassed about it. He's just like, "It's meh. It's meh." I'm like, "You did that whole arm. You did that whole arm now, and it's just meh. It's meh. It's just meh." Like, oh man, that's almost worse than hating it. You know, your whole arm done that way. This is what I ate every day for 11 months, and I'm back on it now. But I ate everything in sight at the Raiders suite this weekend. Well, I was off. I wasn't eating everything in sight all week, but I had a week. I was off work, and so being off work, I decided to take it a bit easy on diet for the first time in a year. But I also got sick as crap, which generally happens to me when I go off of it. Sick in the stomach, which is just kind of obvious, like you suddenly eat a ton of crap. But this is it. That's the exact same thing. I ate that exact same thing for 11 months straight. Only 8 ounces of this red meat right here, only 1 ounce of this almonds, only 12 ounces of the egg whites, and then the whole egg, the whole rice, and these 3 cans of chicken. That's all I ate, plus Diet Coke or coffee. But I've said frequently, and if it weren't for that dumb coffee, I could put any stake president under the table with the word of wisdom, man. But because of that coffee, which I don't always drink, but I do sometimes. You guys seen any movies? Any dumb movies? You guys were talking about some movies. I watched The Shape of Water for the first time this week, and that was a straight leftist crap that I didn't even realize it was like hammer you over the head so hard with it. But
I learned something about England that I thought was strange because I'm
What's that?
going to Liverpool in a few weeks, and I've just been on Google Earth just looking at all the stuff I might want to see, and of course, like, I want to go to a chippy, a fish and chip shop, a real English chippy, and have real English fish and chips, because one thing that I'm excited about is that in England, cod isn't prohibitively expensive as it is here. And being Portuguese, I love my cod and all this stuff. So I'm looking at all these chippy shops in Liverpool and Merseyside. And there isn't a chippy in Liverpool that is not also a Chinese takeaway. And it's messing with my head. It's like, when did that happen? And how did it happen? But like, I asked my kid and his friends, I'm like, I just said, like, is there a chippy in Merseyside that isn't also a Chinese takeaway? And they're like, no, they pretty much all are. And I was like,
the Lotus Eaters talk about that all the time, man. It's part of the that Indian food is the main dish of London and all that sort of stuff now. It's part of the strange death of Europe, as Douglas Murray puts it.
I'm such a dick. I can never take British words seriously, like a chippy. I can't help but laugh because, like, my kids have been watching Peppa Pig all the time, so like they lose their mind when I do like a British accent. I'll just call them like August Pig because they're all like, "Hello, August Pig." And my favorite thing to do with my wife is like just fake British slang. I'll be like, "Yeah, he's sure topping the wobble, he is." She's like, "What the fuck did you just say?" And I was like, "You know what I said." But I remember watching. I can't remember the movie, but there were some British gangsters, and I laughed my ass off when they started talking because they're in these like thick British accents, and I was like, "Oh my god, I would die!" Like if they come up to me and they threat, "Oh, governor, maybe hand over your wallet, isn't it?" I'd be like, I start laughing, and then they'd fucking kill me because like, I should take them seriously. But
what I always crack up at is, have you ever read like a cricket report, like in just a newspaper, like when they just like the replay, not even the replay, but just like we have, the Jazz, the KSL will like do a recap of the game. Cricket journalism, like, it sounds like Dr. Seuss. It's all just wonky whack, like those things like, oh, he hit 3 overs for a wobbly. like literally, and I have no idea what any of it means, and it just sounds like Dr. Seuss to me.
Yeah. You know that show Deadwood, they purposely put anachronisms in it of the swearing. They made him like, you fucker, motherfucker, cocksucker. If you ever watch that movie, it's like really R-rated. But they said if they really put
incel in 1884.
Yeah. But if they really put the swear words of the time, it would have been like, yeah, lily livered gumblebubby. You know, like I don't like whatever Mr. Burns type stuff of insults that would have been in there. We don't know how to make that sound tough because no matter what, it sounds like Mr. Burns. Look at this. Carden has now sexually harassed his wife. He has shown her the Tim Ballard and the skivvies. Oh, I'm gonna listen to this. Any other stuff you want to say? I think we're hitting the 3-hour mark. Yeah, call it good. Sorry, I was a bit irritated tonight. These guys,
You were all fired up. That was a good time.
these guys got me irritated. I don't know what else to say, but
the only thing I watched, because since the last time I talked about Ahsoka, I didn't watch it until like last night. I watched 2 more episodes of it, and it's just so meh. It's just very meh.
I have to imagine that costume is difficult to move in because she looks terrible anytime she's trying to do lightsaber moves.
No, but that's the other thing is like because the other thing that struck me that I hate, because I mentioned before, like one of the things that bothers me about it is that there's the green tentacle head lady who like she has the makeup and the tentacle apparatus application, but other than that, she might as well be American Woman the way she plays the role. And it just drives me nuts because it's like she gives like she does nothing remotely alien. And then the other thing, because I realized like more and more things bother me, and it's like even though it's been there from the beginning, it didn't like it. You know, it's one of those things like you might not have noticed it, but your brain did. She's wearing a World War II bomber jacket all the time, and it's just so stupid and distracting. And it
the real World War II one, or it just
like,
looks like
look
one?
at it. Like I don't. Can you find? I don't know if I can
That's just what it looks like. But at some point, we're gonna get like an origin story of her where a big plot point is you ever wonder how Green Tentacle Head Lady found her World War II bomber jacket? No, I didn't even wonder that about characters that I liked.
Yeah. Was the movie you were talking about, the English Gangsters, was it Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels?
No, it wasn't. It was like I think it was like a shitty monster movie. I watched it on my mission. I will not know what it is.
So I watched. If you want something that kind of has it's maybe a little bit of a lefty immigration angle, but maybe at the same time not, because it could be a criticism of Biden. But Guy Ritchie, the guy who directed Lock, Stock, and Two Smoking Barrels, his most recent movie, The Covenant, I watched that and it was very good. But it's also kind of pushing that we should be letting over the Afghani translators back to the U.S. But it's a good movie.
When you were in Brazil, when you watched movies, was it rentals or was it internet streaming?
We didn't have streaming or anything. There was a couple rental places, but mostly you just buy them in markets. There's always somebody in the bottom of the supermarket just selling bootlegs, and we had portable DVD players, and we signed a contract saying we wouldn't watch worldly movies on them.
Really?
Well, because because when I was there, I remember the rentals. It always cracked me up because because they were VHS back then, and of course, at the beginning was trailers, and I just thought it was funny because in the Brazilian versions of all the movies, they'd put in the corner trailer, just because otherwise the dumb Brazilians would be too confused. They're like, "What is this? This doesn't look like the movie I rented." And like, just so you know, this is a trailer. It's unrelated to the movie that you're about to watch. And I just thought that was strange.
Yeah, that's goofy. Oh.
Alrighty.
Time to walk a Charlie.
Charlie dog.
Thanks for chilling. I think we'll find out everything about Tim Ballard at General Conference this week. They'll come out.
Brothers and sisters, we wanted to fill you in with our guy, or what? Not Guy Ritchie. Tim Ballard drama situation.
Do you think will they even obliquely reference it?
Oh God, no.
Nope.
No.
Not only that, I bet you the talks were written and submitted February.
Oh no, that's true. I knew that. I knew
Except
that
for the
'cause,
ones that's going to have to make up for Nilsson being gone.
when I was a
Mm.
kid, that was one of the things where I learned about how like just business like the churches. Because when I was very young, my mom used to do the Portuguese translations of some of the talks, and I remember that she would get them well in advance, and it was very secretive. Like she wasn't allowed to talk to anybody about what was in the talk and all that stuff.
Well, this is one because I was talking to Guadamax, and she thinks that this angle that I showed you guys yesterday, that somebody on Twitter, I think I can show this, was very critical of. Where to go? She thinks it's all going to be about making sure that you have babies, which this person on Twitter said, these guys going and talking about, please tell me the brethren of the LDS Church are not meeting with the authoritarian, intolerant, theocratic leader of Hungary and letting her speak about family planning and values at BYU. Please tell me that I'm imagining this picture. And then somebody says in that, having children is saving the world. While in Utah, Salt Lake City, I wanted to meet with the leaders of the Church of Jesus Christ. Thank you for the warm welcome and inspiring conversation. And good gracious, that's a whole different person. That's a trans ex-Mormon, whatever. It says right here, she spoke of a demographic ice age at her BYU devotion on Tuesday. This is a dog whistle for replacement theory, which is a demographic, not democratic. This is a dog whistle for replacement theory, which is a platform of white supremacy. Leave them when they show you who they are.
Having children is white supremacy.
Oh, that was the other thing. That was the first thing that it said in the Douglas Murray wiki page. It's like trying to act all objective, and several people accuse him of carrying forth the Great Replacement conspiracy theory and the cultural Marxist conspiracy theory. Which, what is that conspiracy theory? Because they just say it.
That's the one that that you saw. We've showed it on this podcast before. We pulled up. We could do it again.
If you read Herbert Marcuse, if you go to the library,
no, I know.
and read Herbert Marcuse, you are and then you repeat what's in it in a critical way. It's a conspiracy theory.
Well, I've got it saved.
Explicitly say that we're cultural Marxists.
I've got it saved that Wikipedia used to have a cultural Marxism page.
Yeah, and
you have to go back into the Wayback Machine now, and all it did is explain what that was, and that very obviously, specifically, that's what the Frankfurt School was about. And then they kind of left the page.
It's their word for it. Their word for it is cultural Marxism.
But strangely enough,
part of it was a field of sociology and still is. But if you are anything right of Mao, and you bring it up, like my little sister even tried to pull it on me, where like she did that exact same thing because I said, it's cultural Marxism, and she sent me the link to the new Wikipedia and even said, "Ha, gotcha, you're a Nazi."
It erased the old cultural Marxism page and replaced it with cultural Marxism conspiracy theory page.
Yeah.
They did that. We even know like the year and time they did it. I can pull up the Wayback Machine one and the new one. And it is at the same time frame that they changed the meaning of the word bigot, and then the same time frame. There was a couple other ones right around then. Although I'm sure they're doing this stuff constantly all the time nowadays. Anyway, you got Dan McClellan on the job, changing definitions. But they disappeared the old page and replaced it with the new page. But strangely enough, if you read the details of the new page, it still just admitted all of it.
Yeah.
It just called it at the top of it the conspiracy theory.
It
which,
says at the top,
I'm sure that appeals to
evil anti-Semites. Evil anti-Semitic people take issue with cultural Marxism. Like that's basically what the whole thing is.
No, it says that so there was like, I think it's David Duke and another guy in the 90s noticed as soon as it was
that's what I mean. Like,
like
people that are politically objectionable noticed this and talked about it, and therefore it is connected to Nazis now. And so, if you are critical of cultural Marxism, you are a Nazi.
But if you are for it and you're somebody who says that you like it, you're allowed perfectly well to say that you're a cultural Marxist. You're allowed to just admit it all openly. It's the Schrodinger's. Just like the postmodernism, if you say anything critical of it, you don't get it and you said it wrong. And if you say anything positive of it, you totally get it and you said it right.
Yeah.
And that's how that stuff's all religion anyway. But yeah, so part of the thing is they'll also say anybody who talks about it is an anti-Semite, because some of those older guys noticed that not all of the Frankfurt School were Jews. So if you notice it, even though you can have like a Jewish person who's critical of the Frankfurt School, but if you mention the Frankfurt School at all, you're immediately an anti-Semite like those other people. But Horkheimer himself, Adorno converted to Catholicism. I guess he was a natural Jew, but Habermas isn't a Jew. There's a bunch of them in it that there were just majority Jews. They weren't all Jews. It wasn't a Jewish school, But you are now a anti-Semite if you notice that they existed and said everything exactly as they said it in the books that you can read back to them.
Wasn't that the title of a podcast from last year? Is Noticing His White Supremacy?
Yeah. There's a meme about being like the noticer. They put it in like NOO. I'm the nudister.
Or you just I love the amount of times people just respond to like the weirdest shit with, hey, cool it with the anti-Semitism, buddy.
Yeah. But Cardin uses it too now. Like if you say that the church hoards money, that's an anti-Semitic joke.
Just okay. I don't care. Like I don't have a problem with Jews. I consider that being not anti-Semitic. So if I point something out and
the guitarist in my band is a Jew, and he is the anti-Semitic one. He's the anti-Zionist. He's really critical. He says Jewish jokes all the time, and the rest of us don't even like really drop Jewish jokes. I don't like know like a ton of different like Jewish jokes, and he'll drop them all the time. And and he's full Jewish. So, but I notice cultural Marxism, so I'm an anti-Semite. But it's funny because it took me years to find out that was like a thing. Yeah, have you ever heard the thing of like if you quote Voltaire, and there's this quote that people falsely attribute to Voltaire where it says, look at who you can criticize, and if you can't criticize them, that's who rules you. That actually was not a quote by Voltaire. That was a quote by a white supremacist in the 90s who attributed it to Voltaire wrongly or something like that. But if you go and use that, because it's all over the internet that Voltaire said that, but if you say that quote and say Voltaire, all these lefties will say that they've caught you in your anti-Semitic white supremacist dog whistle. They caught you because you misused that quote. There's all sorts of dumb landmines like that. But
well, shit.
That's the world. That's the world we're living in. The gaslighting is not going down. It's going to go upward. The Me Too is not going down. It's going to go upward. The everything's coming back around, man. So
right.
Enjoy, everybody. We can look forward to some true media coming our way. The true science, hard journalists. The future is going to get better. Man, it's going to get. This next year is going to be stupid. Like everybody's got to know that's going to be stupid. As stupid as it's been, it is going to be stupid.
The
election's coming. It is going to get dumb.
How many indictments before the actual election happens? I mean, because I was keeping track of them, I swear to God, but by the fourth one, I was just, people are like, do you hear Trump is indicted? Yeah. Do you know what it's about? No, I don't.
There was an automatic conviction in New York. One of them was already like convicted. But yeah, that was in New York City just this week. It dropped. But
they're gonna accidentally they're gonna accidentally stumble on something illegal and wretched that he did, and nobody's gonna fucking believe him. No, we actually have a video. They're like, we're serious, man.
Yeah.
Like, I don't fucking care.
I bet you right now, like I bet you we can't even predict like whatever the stupid thing is going to be. It's going to be so stupid, and we can't even guess at what it's going to be. But there's just going to be something as dumb as the very fine people hoax that just ends up taking over the whole world again, or something like that. And it's going to be as easily debunkable. That one blew my mind so hard because I saw that speech live.
Me too.
and that the world lost it from that and thought they heard something else.
No, because the other thing is like, I mean, a handful of times, people repeated it, and I like dragged the clip in front of them, and I tried to. Okay, what did he say? Repeat the words, and they still like, nope. Yeah.
Linguist here. Trump absolutely did call those people very fine people. That Dan McClellan, one of the first dumb things I ever saw him say was him defending the very fine people hoax. But based off of being a linguist, he was able to tell you that he really was supporting the white supremacists. Dan Italian.
Because
All right, everybody.
when he said, "I'm not talking about neo-Nazis and white supremacists; they should be condemned totally," he was
And
actually
it
just
was-
negotiating the words.
Well,
you remember that's what they
You're
said when he said.
renegotiating the meaning because Trump's words have no inherent meaning. You're renegotiating it. Dan, of course, is renegotiating the text as anybody would, but he is keeping it true to the original intent of the author as he is qualified to do, and you are not.
That's what they said
right.
Trump did when he said stand by and stand down when they're trying to force him again and again.
Oh my God! When I got in an argument with the local liberal at work just a couple months ago about that, and he said, he's like, he incited violence on January 6th. I was like, okay, how? What did he do? It's like, well, that speech he gave.
He said,
before,
"Stand down."
Well, the speech he gave before, he was telling him go march and make your voice heard, and I was like, okay, what words did he say? Because he used the words peacefully. He's like, he did, but there was like a wink there, and I'm like, oh my God, are you a mind reader?
Dog whistle.
And I actually just lost my shit on it. I usually don't lose my shit on in-person little debates like that, but I was like, are you reading his? That's insane, man.
Yeah.
What could he have? Tell me the words that he could have said in that speech that would satisfy you, like what he had to say a couple more times. Do not be violent. Please do not be violent. I swear to God, if you're violent, I will disown you. Like, how much of a disclaimer would you have to give before you're like, oh yeah, he actually didn't want them to be violent?
Yeah. What I love to say to people who always kind of claim that stuff is like, I thought only dogs could hear dog whistles. So like, if you're hearing it, if you're picking it out, I guess you're one of those.
Yeah.
Not speaking of which, the Canadian government cheered on that SS walking guy.
No, that's like
yeah.
the way they came down on that guy. Like that was so obviously not intentional. Like it's so clearly no malice in that, and the fucking reaction to it is just absurd. It's so because the other thing is like the guy was part of a voluntary Ukrainian unit of the SS, and like because in the BBC article about it, they mentioned like they were not found guilty of any war crimes by an investigative tribunal that investigate all this stuff. You know, so it's like it really is just the association. We don't know that guy even did anything, and like because the other thing is like. How do we know that the guy just didn't really hate communists, and so he hitched up with the people who were giving him the best chance for fighting commies?
Well, that's how there was. You had those two options. Like
Yeah.
he had those two options at that time frame in his life. He had be a commie or be a Hitler guy. That's who people who lived around there, those and were that age. Those were the two choices they had. You know. So anyway,
alrighty.
Off to Waka Cha Cha. Hey, cha cha.
Charlie dog.
Alrighty. See y'all later.
See ya. Bye bye. Echo. Let's go.